Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us. This is the Wednesday show. So you've got me, your host, Mike Killy. There it is on Twitter. Over there to, I guess it's technically my right on the screen, but I might be maybe to the left. I don't know. Bonds of 1273, Mike Restano, and then my dad's joining us down there below as well.
In the
So
middle.
guys, as we were actually just talking about this um, right before you came on. It was like we're doing a post. It's not a post game show. It's not a pregame show. It's a post playoff victory Wednesday show. It's just
Right.
wild.
Big time.
So how's everybody feeling? Um, how's everybody feeling? Now that the game is over, are we excited about Kansas City? What's going on?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm excited, but before I get into that, I think my first opening comment is the rivalry is back.
very true.
Years because they dominated us every year, both home and away. It was like we were, secondary thought. We weren't a rivalry anymore because rivalry you have to win occasionally. You have to have some give and take. You have to have some feeling, some emotion, players, something at risk. And we had, I don't know, for the last 10 years, we had nothing really. I mean, I remember back in the, in the 90s and the 80s. I mean, it was so intense. I mean, they couldn't wait for the game. They talked trash. The games were very physical and they meant something. The division championship, the playoffs, etc. That's been absent for the last 10 plus years, I would think. So, here with us beating them back to back and back at home and taking them out of the playoffs and the chatter back and forth, uh, the rivalry is back, and they're not going to forget this one. They're going to come out for blood next year. The two games that we have, we're going to be up for it. We want to, keep them in their place. We want to start our own streak of things. So it's really going to look. I'm going to look forward to those Pittsburgh games next year. That's for sure. We're going to have a lot on the line. Um, and imagine if we had beat the Jets. If we had beat the Jets and we had our players, we would have won the division. We would have that title now, and because we beat them back to back. Um, so we came that close, and it gives us something, an incentive for next year. Let's get our team stronger as far as defense, certain positions and so forth, backups, good coaching decisions, etc. And Baker's going to be that much better. I see, Hunt and Chubb, the receivers, Miles, get some help on defense, and I think we're already one of the top 8 teams already because we're in the playoffs. There's only 8 teams left. We're virtually, a couple of games away from the Super Bowl, and we thought about that even at the beginning of the season or even in mid-season when we got crushed a couple of times. We would have thought that's crazy, but look how it's finished out. And I think even Mike, you were saying maybe on one of your tweets that we could be as healthy as we've ever been if we bring back a couple of players, get our coaches back, etc. So I'm looking forward to the Kansas City game. I think it's going to be interesting, and we'll get a real good gauge as to how good they are and how well we can compete both offensively and defensively. So those are my
And,
thoughts.
and I would agree with that. I think that the piggyback off of the back-to-back Steeler wins, and I've been saying this all week, and it seems like the consensus of people that are interacting with it sort of have the same feel, and it's something that I'll pose to you guys, and I'll pose to the chat as well. But I mean, this sure feels like there might be a little bit of destiny involved. I think that you know you you have you beat the Steelers at home to get in, and then you got to go to their place where we've been it's been abysmal, right? I mean, it's just terrible. And I mean, it was almost like the beginning of a Super Bowl. It was like watching a Super Bowl game where somebody just gaffes all over the place and they blow them out, and then obviously the law of averages, and we talked about it after the game. You only get so many possessions. So I mean, when you're up 28-0 at the half, you can't expect that you're going to score another 28 points, etc. I mean, it's just
Unanswered.
the number, yeah, the numbers just don't. It's just not something that happens. But I mean, to your point, Dan, everybody seems to be getting healthy. Kevin Johnson was activated today. Denzel Ward was activated today. Callahan was in the building. Stefanski's back tomorrow. I'd assume that Bitonio will be back to follow as well.
They practiced today, didn't they?
Yeah, and they did practice today, and I feel like, for me, the one thing that I'm watching all week, besides the fact of seeing if they've Denzel and those guys, how much wind they have, and I think they'll be okay. But Conklin, I think for me is the X factor this week. Watching to see how that hamstring is. But I mean, if we go into Kansas City with our full complement of guys, I mean, we score points at will. I mean, we really do. I mean, if and we talked about it last week. I mean, this was now what, the 8th game this season that we've scored 30 plus, and this offense could score. And the Kansas City defense is, I mean, they're not gangbusters. I mean, and their run defense is a little bit suspect. And what do we do great? We run. Yeah. So I think on the defensive side of the ball, we get those guys back, and I'm not saying that we're gonna they're not gonna score or they're gonna score 10 points. I mean, they're gonna get their points, but with that complement and the way we've been scoring points, I mean, I honestly could tell you, I feel like this is a team of destiny, and I could be wrong, and everybody could laugh at me next week, but I got a feeling that the Kansas City is not the last stop on this trip, and I hope
you're right, Mike. That would be huge. The commentary that'll happen on Sunday night, if we beat Kansas City, whichever way we're able to do it, close game, blowout, you can't expect Mahomes to have a game like Roethlisberger did. It's not in his DNA to do that. 4 interceptions and etc. The other thing that was Quincy. I caught a little bit of Quincy today, and he was going over the game and why things happen and whatnot. He touched on something which was really key, and obviously surprised the Steelers, surprised us, surprised everybody. The offensive line did not let them get to Baker.
He was getting rid of the ball so fast.
Yeah, that could have been.
I think, guys. I think you saw the 2018 Baker, the rookie Baker, come back into play. And the 2019 Baker was 7-step drops, it was the Todd Monken offense. 7-step drops, let plays develop, throw the ball 15 yards downfield. And that's just, that might work for Ryan Fitzpatrick. It doesn't work for Baker Mayfield, and we've seen that over and over. He's at his best when he gets to his 3rd to 5th step and then fires. No hesitation. And it doesn't have to be his first read, because as a quarterback, as you're dropping back, you have a pre-snap read as a quarterback. Then you have your depending on if you're doing play action or not. Play action typically takes away your 3rd read because you don't have enough time. You have 2 quick reads with play action. It's got to either be to your main guy or very quickly to the other. And if it's not there, you got to tuck it or you got to dump. But what we were failing at with Todd Monken and Freddie Kitchens was that long, slowly developing play, and then the offensive line wasn't very good. Now we have a good offensive line. When they showed the PFF scores for those guys,
and Michael Dunn, there were 27 eligible guards be graded, and Michael Dunn was 4.
Because of that game.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. That's insane.
A guy literally off the street,
Crazy.
And and it's unfortunate that he got injured. It's like, you come in, you do an awesome job, and you get injured right away. But it was a really interesting. I saw something on Twitter. I can't remember who said it, so I apologize. But somebody was saying on Twitter that when we started having our problems in the middle of the game, that lull that we hit in the middle of the game, it was when our offensive lineman went out. Right, so we were firing on all cylinders for the first quarter, and you could argue the second quarter, right? And then until we had like 30 seconds left in the second quarter, where we let them go down the field and catch that out pass to turn that into a field goal. I actually went online and downloaded the whole game, so I have the whole game and I've got it archived. So I own a copy of that game right now. And I went back and looked at it, and I used some of it for the hype video that I put out today. But man, it was so frustrating watching that as last, it was like 30, 38 seconds that we gave them after we scored the touchdown to go up.
Right, we scored too early.
And then we gave him that much time, and it just goes to show, like, it's never over. You never want to give a team like the Steelers, or really any decent team, an opportunity to go down and score at any time, because it's just possible. Look at the very end of that game. So it was just an interesting point. It's not that we fell asleep. It's just that when we don't have our full complement of offensive linemen, it's a different offense, guys. Right? Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing that kind of interesting point, to Mike, to kind of agree, I optimistically agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes hasn't played a live snap of football, and this is going to go on 22 days. So if you look at, and we talked about this, we talk about it on the Wednesday show basically every Wednesday. We talk about it in the pre and post game time from time to time, comparing this Browns team to the Philadelphia Eagles team that won the Super Bowl, right? What happened with them? They got hot at the right time, and it wasn't just that we're getting hot right now. It's that there's something extra there. And what I'm afraid of is that we, after the Jets game and after all the ups and downs that we had to go through with COVID and all the stuff over the last couple of weeks, able to pull off the victory against Pittsburgh's, backup players, and then beating the crap out of them with their starters. Is that adrenaline going to continue to carry on? Right? Or
yeah, I think so. I mean, those guys, like Baker said in the interview, we're not done yet. This wasn't our goal to just get into playoffs and then win one game. I mean, if we survive, and you're one of those 8 teams, now granted, there's a lot of separation between Kansas City, the Packers, Buffalo, the Ravens, the Titans, and we're in that mix, but we're, we can't ignore the fact that our defense against an elite team offense is going to score a lot of points on us. I mean, if we're going to beat Kansas City, it's going to be 52-48, 48-46. It's going to be, we're going to have to put up a lot of points, and we're going to have to endure all the points that they can put up. And imagine if it was Kansas City we were playing on Sunday, and we got behind, we got ahead 28-0 because of circumstances.
I wouldn't feel comfortable at all.
Oh no, with Mahomes, and then he gets 2 touchdowns in a row, and maybe Andy Reid's a little bit more aggressive than the Pittsburgh coach on that 4th and 1, and he goes for it, and the momentum keeps going. Yeah. If they had scored then, even a field goal, it would have been, we would have been sweating it out even more than we sweated it out. So, and Kansas City can score 21 points in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh took their time, but they clawed their way back into it. But I think I'd much prefer 7 points for them, 7 points for us, field goal for them, field goal for us, back and forth, and keep it close. Don't give me a 28-point lead on Kansas City. I just, I'll be thinking, we should win, and if we blow it, we're going to get criticized for blowing it. I hope it's not that type of game, and I hope we don't get blown out either. I mean, I don't want the opposite to happen either. But I think if we can score points, then I think we'll be in it for most of the game, and then it'll come down to how many more points can they put up over us on our defense.
Yeah, and I think the key and we forget is, I mean, we've been without our full complement of guys on the defense for a while.
Yeah.
And if you think about what's transpired in that time, Taki has become a player. Vincent Taylor has been playing really well on the defensive line. You've got Ronnie Harrison. He was banged up for a little while. I know he came back in later, but I think he'll be okay this week. And I mean, now you've got Denzel back. Now you've got your slot cornerback in Kevin Johnson. And you look at, if you want to stay in the defensive backfield, you look at MJ Stewart. If you look at his PFF grades, I mean, they're terrible, but you can tell that something lit up, a light bulb went on, and he's starting to now develop a little bit as well. And the one thing that and injuries happen, and it's part of the game, and you can't cry over it, but I would really, really, really love to have seen this whole defense together on Sunday with Ovi, at the left defensive end spot. But with that being said, Adrian Claiborne, is he killing it? No, but I mean, he was getting some pressure.
Yeah.
So I think that again, for me, the key is going, because I think Denzel will be okay if they lock him up on Tyreek Hill, and I don't know if they will. I mean, that would be the smart bet. But I think that this game, essentially, I think will be won with, if we are able to cover Travis Kelce with our I mean, the linebackers are going to have to cover sometimes, and we're going to have an extra defensive back in there. But for me, he's key. If we can't stop him, then we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Right? Kelce, and that's I think the scary thing about us. I don't know if we're built to beat elite tight ends. Mark Andrews tears us apart every time we play them. It's like we forget that the tight end's there. Right. I mean, look at Eric Ebron last week. I mean, Ebron was getting open. It's because we're typically you can't put a corner on a tight end. You can't. You got to have a linebacker and safety coverage, because you just don't have that many guys on the field for every down type plays. Like if we get up 28 points and we're going to throw in mostly nickel and dime packages, then yeah, you can put a secondary guy on Travis Kelce. But if not, you're going to have these linebackers in pass coverage, and Pat Mahomes is going to throw the ball, right? And is he going to throw 70 times? Probably not, but he's going to throw 40.
Well, and the other thing is, he is not Roethlisberger from a standpoint of running with the ball. Roethlisberger didn't run it at all. He was barely mobile at all. You put that linebacker on the tight end, and you open up a hole where Mahomes, if he doesn't see anybody, he's just going to take, like Josh Allen, take it down and run for 20 yards. And Lamar Jackson, maybe not the scramble type, but he is very mobile, and he's a double threat. So that, Stefanski's got and the defensive coaches have got their work cut out for them to try to come up with any kind of game plan. And the best thing that could happen to us is that Baker initiate and the rest of the offense initiate long drives, and they keep him off the field. It's like four corners in basketball. Just, keep possession of the ball. The fewer the possessions that they get, the better off you're going to be. And then, try to turn it into a lower scoring game. But if we go 3 and out several times, or, one first down and then go 3 and out, whatever, and he gets his hands on the ball, and they give him a lot of possessions, it could be a long afternoon.
Yeah, I'm looking at chat. Ara79 over there on Twitch says KC aren't the team they were last year, and they're definitely not the team they were the year before. I think you're right. I think Kansas City. I think they're dangerous. You know, I know a lot of people are saying that they've had a lot of close games, but they're winning them. You know, they won a close game against the Buccaneers. They won a close game against the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Saints, the
Right?
Falcons. They snuck by at the end of the season, and then they lost that game to the Chargers with Chad Henne. Chad Henne's their backup quarterback, by the way. Um, and so you look at it and you go, a win is a win. They were essentially 14-1, and you know this is a scary team. But the good news is about this is it's kind of like if I look at the Steelers game and I reflected upon the Steelers game quite a bit. Bulldog, what's going on? Um, I think what happened was be, the Steelers definitely overlooked us. They took us for granted, and they were
Right.
like, "We're going to win that game no matter what." They put out their backup. They thought they were putting up their B team. They played a lot of starters. We talked about that last week before the game, and it was a close game, and we barely snuck by. So they're like, okay, we're just gonna kill them when we get Roethlisberger and all our guys in. And then from that first play, it was that was when we, that's when we cut them. It's like in Rocky 4 where he punches Drago and he cuts him, and he's like, oh, everybody stops for a second. He's like, that's that wasn't supposed to happen,
Mhm.
and boom, so that goes over the head, and then we start punching and punching and punching and punching and punching, and then we started believing. I think after we scored the second touchdown, the one from Jarvis,
Right.
everybody started saying, "Hold on a second, this is going really, really well. I know it's only 14 points, but this is going really well. If we keep our foot on the gas, we're in good shape." And at that point, then when we got up to 28, it was like, I mean, the odds of them coming back from that, even though they put an amazing effort up, you know, it's not gonna happen. And now the Chiefs are a team that I the Chiefs are not the Cowboys. They are not the Titans, and they are not the old Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
This is a team that, for all intents and purposes, has a lot of guys in their prime, and they are set up within this same window that we're in to give us, a run for many years to come here. They're very well coached. They're very experienced. They have their Super Bowl ring, and we're going to their house.
Right.
And we just came off two very, you could even argue three very emotional games, and we get our coach back, and if we, the key to the game will be if we can continue that motivation and that momentum forward, carry that forward into the Chiefs game, and if it takes them 2 quarters to wake up from the nap. And that's what I'm hoping for, right? You kind of saw that in the Ohio State game. It's like it took them 2 quarters to wake up. Be like, I know you beat Trevor Lawrence, I know you beat Clemson, but this is the game. You're playing a game right now.
Right.
Um, Mike, as you were saying, we have a lot of advantages here. We have a lot of guys that are coming back from either hopefully just COVID or possibly injury. But I'm with you 100%. I think Conklin, if we have Wills, Batonio, Treader, Teller, and Conklin,
Yeah, I mean
I'm feeling real good. But I don't
I
know
mean
about the hamstring. Can you just take a shot for that?
that
Mm.
I'm sure they're probably working that thing out. I mean, it depends on how bad it was because it. I mean, if you watch the game, and I know Teller came back on the sideline weeks ago, and you're like, well, hanging out, like, why can't he come back in the game? And I felt like it looked like if he had to go, he could have went, and I could be wrong on that. I mean, he's day to day. When Stefanski was talking about it, he didn't seem too worried, I guess. But you know how he is. I mean, it's very very difficult to read him. But
Yeah.
to your point, I mean, if you have that full complement of offensive line, I mean, let me just give you some numbers here. All right, two of you. So the Chief defense this year, right? Week 1, 31 rushing attempts for 165 yards, 10.5 yards attempt, 4 touchdowns. Week 2, 44 attempts, 183 rushing yards, 4.2 yards per attempt, and a touchdown. Week 3, 21 attempts against him, 158 yards rushing, 7.5 yards a carry.
Ooh.
Week 4, now mind you, this is the fourth straight week of the NFL season, right? 35 attempts, 185 yards, 5.3 yards a carry. Let's go to week 5 while we're doing this. 35 carries, 144 yards, 4.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. And now I could just keep on
And they
going.
lost that game.
Yeah, you look at week 7, 33 attempts, 177 yards. I mean, the Jet game.
Is that the recipe then?
Yeah, the Jet game, 25 rushes, 93 yards. Carolina, 104 yards rushing. Denver, the first time around, Denver was 33 for 177. The second time, Denver was 33 for 179. So you see the trend here,
Yeah,
right, of
yeah.
what teams are doing. You look at the LA Chargers in week 17, 35 carries, 135 yards, 3.9 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. So if I go down this whole list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 17 games, 16 games, the other team not only rushed for 100 yards, but in some cases were approaching 200 yards. So you can run on this team, and we have 2 of the best in the same backfield. So not only should they pound the football, which I think they will, I know they will, but think about the play action that's going to open off of this thing. And now they'll be able to roll out some boots because they really don't play that wide on the ends. So I think that you're going to see a really good, solid offensive game plan out of Stefanski. And basically, if you look at all the quote unquote media professional personalities that have already put their 2 cents in and have picked their winner for that game, the majority obviously have picked the Chiefs, and I think Mark Sessler picked us. But the common theme among that was almost everybody's score was either within 7 or 3 points of each other. So if we play offensive football the way we can, and the defense picks up with these guys returning, it very well may come down to who has the ball last. I don't. I just I just have a really good feel. I mean, this game plays to our strengths on the offensive side of the ball, and I don't think you could ask for anything more going into the defending Super Bowl champions' house, in the divisional round of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. I think fairly sunny, no real bad adverse weather. So that factor is going to be non-existent for both teams and both passing offenses. So that's good, I guess, in a way. And obviously, Mahomes can score a lot faster than we can, per se, on average. Be interesting to see those same stats, Mike, on their passing.
You know what?
How
your wish is my command.
Okay.
And I got it right in front of me. So if you look at the passing yards allowed, if we go down, week 1, 338 and 2 touchdowns. Week 2, 296 and a touchdown. Week 3 was 70 yards and a touchdown, but I mean that was Lamar in that game, so that answers that. You look at week 4, 172 and a touchdown, 346 and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
And then it varies: 122 and 2, 331 and 2, 275 and 3.
Who's ever hot can pick them apart. They have an Achilles heel that if you can exploit it, if you've got the game plan, if you got the quick release, you got your receivers and they're catching the ball, not dropping the ball. Baker's on, which he has been the last several weeks. There's no reason to think he won't be on. You're you're right. Those are encouraging numbers, Mike, that say we have a chance.
Ara is asking, ask Bonzo 1273 about their pressure sack info. You have any info on that?
I should. Let me see.
Well, here's another thing that I'm looking up. In terms of like, I'm looking at their schedule from this year. All right, so they played the Texans, and I'm going to compare this to our running attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Texans, were better. Chargers, Ravens besides Lamar, and they still beat them, but the Ravens, the Patriots, Raiders. Interestingly, with Jacobs, I think Jacobs is on the caliber tier of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and Jacobs. The first game where the Chiefs lost, he was 23 carries for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the second game where the Chiefs just eked him out, Jacobs was held to 55 yards and 1 touchdown off 17 carries. But I think he's probably the best one. The Bills don't have this. The Bills, Broncos, Jets, Panthers. They had Christian McCaffrey at that point. The Panthers. Christian McCaffrey went 18 carries, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. So he's on that caliber of what we have. But I think the kind of key thing, and then the rest of them, the Bucks, the Dolphins, the Saints with Kamara. Kamara did 11 carries, 54 yards. So he was kept in check. If you look at these teams, though, they don't have the 1-2 punch that we have with Kareem Hunt and with Nick Chubb. And I think that's the thing about our team that is just so dangerous about us, is that we do have the ability, and thank God we started dumping the ball off to the running backs. I mean, I'm sitting there, my dad's sitting next to me. Dad, you're sitting next to me in the game, and I'm sitting yelling. I'm like, just dump it to the damn running backs. And what do? We have 2 dumps to the running backs, and one I think was a screen, and one was just a check down. And Kareem Hunt just ran up the damn field. And I'm like, look, I think Baker, if you're looking at the tape, if I'm the offense and I'm going, hey, let's look at the tape, see what happened. Man, when we can get it to these guys, it's kind of like Metcalf back in the day. If you hand the ball off to Metcalf, he went down like a, shredded like a piece of paper. But if you get him the ball in the open field and let him do his thing and dance and get upfield, he was dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why later on in his career, when he went to Atlanta, he became more of a slot receiver. So I think we have to be able to get them involved more than just slamming them up the middle. I think that it's great when those up the middle runs work, but it's really frustrating when there's holes. When I can predict what's going to happen in the play, I look at the formation and I go, they're gonna run it right up the damn middle. It's very frustrating.
That was the other thing that Quincy was harping on in the few minutes that I listened to him, was Pittsburgh was very routine, very predictable, we're going to run our plays over and over again, not a lot of creativity. Maybe their offensive coordinator is going to take some heat for that. But just the fact that they didn't want to try on the 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, or 4th and 1, 4th and 2, when they had all the momentum in the world, and we're sweating bullets thinking, oh my God, if they make this first down, they're going to score another touchdown, and it's going to be a brand new ball game from 28-0. But they decided to punt. Thank God they decided to punt. They chickened out.
Yeah. When they took their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
That
especially if you're behind.
Yeah, there was
no sense of urgency at the end with them. Mm-hmm. You watch the clock just keep ticking and ticking, and Roethlisberger is looking at the line and trying to decide where to set guys up, move them around. And that was under 5 or 6 minutes. They just didn't have the urgency that they should have. And maybe that's Roethlisberger. Maybe it's the play call. I don't know. But it just they almost defeated themselves there at the end because they didn't try to speed it up. And so we'll see. But Kansas City is not going to be like that. When they speed it up, they are going to speed it up and they're going to score in a minute, minute and a half. You know, they're going to take no time off of that clock. If we get ahead, they're going to come roaring back like a freight train, and so we got to keep scoring points. We just got to keep scoring points.
You know, if you look back, and then I know Ara asked about the sack stats, and I do have them up, but when you talk about that 4th and 1, it was almost like, you know, when there's a rivalry and something happens, there's like a pivotal play that occurs, and you recognize it when it happens, and then when you reminisce about it, you're always saying, you know, that I could pinpoint that one play when, in this case, the Steelers became broken. And I say that because there is no way that a normal Steelers team doesn't go for it on 4th and 1 on the opposite side of the 50-yard line in a game that you got to win or you go home.
Right.
And 4th and 1, like if you think back of the previous Steeler regimes, and I mean, you could just go back to Le'Veon Bell, but I mean, that team would never have punted on 4th and 1. I mean, they would have ran it down our throat.
Yeah.
And they were being so successful. It was
Yeah.
They were killing us.
Yeah, but that was the turning point. Like that's the, I really feel like that is the play that we'll be looking back on as we beat them up for the next few years, because they're going to lose a lot of guys in free agency. There's a lot of unrestricted free agents.
Yeah, I think Ken Carman would say there's 20.
Yeah, Pouncey is retiring. I'm sure. I mean, if Ben doesn't retire, he's just doing us a favor. But real quick, the Chiefs sack stats. I got to tell you, the one guy on their team, Frank Clark, everybody knows Frank, has the most sacks on their team. How many do you think he has?
9?
6.
8?
6.
And the next guy behind him has 3, and that's Okafor on the other side. Other than that, you've got him at 6, you got Okafor at 3, and then you've got a couple. And when I say a couple, like literally, you've got one guy with 2.5 sacks, and then you've got 3 guys with 2 sacks, and then it's just, you know, a sporadic 1 sack here and there. So here you go again. You have your full complement of offensive linemen, and you're pounding the ball, and you've got them guessing. We should be able to contain their defensive line. And I mean, let's be real. The only thing that worries us in this game, if we're being honest, is Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. That's it, right? Because those are the guys that are going to kill you.
Yeah, those are points, quick points, big points. They're not field goals. They're big points, and those are interesting stats. Hopefully, that's an indication that they cannot put. If Pittsburgh couldn't put pressure on Baker because of the way they designed that game, and they come out with the same quick release, you know, don't hold the ball, don't stand in the pocket, don't try to throw over linemen with their hands up in the air. If they can't put pressure on Baker, then, you know, we're going to score some points. He's going to throw. He's pretty accurate. And like Mike said, the play action should open things up. We got our receivers back. They caught a lot of great balls in key situations, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 5. Kept extending drives when we were, you know, hoping just another first down. And not only get the first down, but then they got another 10, 12, 15 yards on top of it, and including a couple that went to the house. So that's going to be interesting. I would have thought their defense was a lot tougher than those stats that you went over, Mike.
So I'm looking at the teams, and I'm trying to look for a team that is somewhat comparable to the Chiefs. And the closest team that I can see from a stat perspective would have
defense or just,
well, I'm just looking at offense right now, but I'll switch over to defense in a sec. But from an offense perspective, The closest game, which you really can't compare apples to apples, was the Texans. But that was in the monsoon. So you can't really compare that one. And the
Right.
next closest one would probably be the Steelers in terms of the amount of touchdowns, the yardage, the interceptions. Now, there's almost the only other team I think that's really in their league from a passing perspective. The Bills, the Buccaneers, and the Texans, who just was an anomaly this year. But the Bills and the Bucks are close. But I mean, and the Bills probably no, the Bills and the Bucks are very, very, very close. So, and that's actually a good thing because if I look at this game, if we can beat the Chiefs, we can play with anybody. Doesn't mean we can beat anybody, but we can play with anybody. And this is going to be an indicator as to what we're going to see, because the team on the NFC side that scares me the most it's not the Buccaneers, although they're dangerous. It's the Saints and the Packers.
The one good thing though about the Packers, I mean, it's not a good thing because you don't ever want to see somebody get hurt. But if you remember, the Packers lost their All-Pro left tackle, David Bakhtiari, like last week during practice.
I did not know that.
He blew out a knee, so they're without their left tackle yet. That's I mean that's big for them. There's no other way to look at it.
And I think the other thing too, when the Steelers go back and look at the tape of that game,
yeah,
they're going to be really, really frustrated with the decisions they made, because if at that point when they were just spitting on the fire and everything they did was working, and they decided to punt, and then it gave us a little bit of life, and then we got it, and we went down and scored, and we got those field goals, right? When they go back and watch the tape, the fact that even at the very end of the game with a minute left, that they were able to go and score that another touchdown, right? If there would have been 2 minutes left, or if there's let's say there's 3 minutes left in the game when they score that last touchdown, it might be a different game, right? And it's not that our offense went, completely anemic. We had a couple bad drives. When Baker rolled down and missed Jarvis and threw it over his head, I was losing my mind because he was open, he was there, and Baker just missed him, and I was like, you can't do that. You can't do that in the playoffs. And
Hooper dropped one too.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Started the second half, they were driving, and third down, or maybe it was second down, over the middle. It was just a hair behind him.
No, it hit him right in the midst.
Yeah, right through his hands, which is uncharacteristic of him. I mean, he's got good hands. He catches the ball. If he catches that one, that drive stays alive, and we take a whole bunch of time off the clock, and maybe we go down and score.
Yeah.
So those are, we didn't have. The other thing that was interesting, and even your mother pointed it out, was there weren't a lot of flags being thrown.
No,
especially on our secondary.
Yeah,
you would think that they would have been getting flagged up and down the field
right,
and keeping drives alive, but whatever reason, I think we got away with one where we hit the guy early, but it was a bang play. But those guys really, really played well to avoid, situation in a year where they're just throwing flags like it's.
Yeah, they let them play.
Unbelievable. Yeah, they let them play.
I think we only had 3 penalties.
Yeah,
and one of them against Kendall Lamb, right when he came in the game, that holding call where he pancaked the guy. I don't understand how that's a penalty.
Yeah,
I don't, but I guess it is.
Joe Woods got a lot of heat for the Steelers just being able to go up and down the field. But I mean, when you look back on it, I mean, what he actually did is he played to the strengths of what he had,
Right.
and he actually put a plan together that theoretically really worked because sure, it was frustrating watching him drop back 10 yards, 15 yards, 8 yards. But what he did in giving them that soft zone was, you know, he took away the quick score like we saw 2 weeks ago, where they were just throwing bombs, and our guys were out on an island in most cases, and 30 seconds later, the Steelers had 2 touchdowns, whereas they had to work for all 500 of those passing yards. And in the meantime, what it did is the clock was ticking and it was ticking and it was ticking.
Right.
And I think that's something that goes not really noticed. And when you look back, I mean, we didn't give up one big play. If you look back on that game, everything was underneath the coverage.
Yeah, the announcers, Collins and Michaels, even commented maybe halfway through the game about what they thought the defensive strategy was going to be. And it was going to be let them have the short passes. You're not going to beat us deep. You're not going to get a quick score. And you think about that strategy on top of a 28-0 lead.
Yeah.
And you think there's nothing wrong with that strategy. Let them march down the field on a long drive and take up 8-9 minutes, whatever, and then maybe force them to kick a field goal. But it worked, and it worked well enough for a huge win.
And speaking of field goals, 12 points from our own Cody Parkey.
Yeah,
6 for 6, right, on extra points.
Yeah, everyone, and the 2 at the end were key. I mean, we needed them to feel comfortable that we got our lead back, to double digits, 2 scores or more. And he was right down the middle. They weren't,
no, you're absolutely
right, or a fade or a line drive or whatever. He was right down the middle, just about every time.
Yeah. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I could have sworn last week during the Wednesday show somebody was saying that Parkey was going to put it right down Broad Street all day, and sure enough, I don't know who that was though.
You nailed it.
Whatever confidence he got, I hope it serves him well, going forward. Everybody goes through periods of time, whether you play golf, you play tennis, or whatever, you go through streaks where you just lose your confidence in putting, and you're the same guy, the same technique and whatnot, but they're just not going in the hole. You're doinking them here, you're doinking them there. You get one blocked on you. Any number of things. You double clutch because the snap isn't good or the hold isn't good. Any number of things can go wrong, but they were all absolutely perfect. And every time I watched, I had my fingers crossed, I had holding my breath, and bam, he hit it. He hit it right down the middle.
Yeah. I'm looking at the last time we played the Chiefs. November 4th, 2018. It was
I was there.
You were there. All right, so you've got some firsthand knowledge of this. We had Baker Mayfield went 29 of 42, 297, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Reem had a big day, I think, that day.
He did. He had a big game against us.
How many touchdowns did he have? Because I could have sworn he scored twice into the dog.
2 touchdowns.
Yep,
2 touchdowns, 17 carries, 91 yards against Nick. 37-21 Chiefs. Yeah. At halftime, it was 21-15 Chiefs.
Yep.
And then they came out in the third quarter, scored 13 points, and then 3 in the fourth, and we only got 6 points in the fourth quarter. So I mean, we just couldn't keep up with them. But
and he was so. If I remember that game correctly, and I know you got the stats there, Hunt was a beast in the screen game that day. I mean, to the point where
Yeah. Oh, he had
Mahomes would-
three. He had 3 touchdowns. Kareem. He had a 50-yard reception.
Yes, because that was
touchdown.
into the dog pound too, because I remember it, and Mahomes just dumped it out to him, and I mean it was one of those touchdowns where they're coming at you,
Yeah.
and you're looking and you're like, is there anybody even near this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
when
know,
was that in the season, Mike? Was that Baker's rookie season?
Yep, that was his rookie year. I think the game that next week
How
was
soon after the Jets game, the first win that Baker got was that Chiefs game.
that was the Jet game.
Remember the Monday night game he won?
That was
he was pretty deep in the season.
well. I'm trying to think, because the week after was the game he hit Jarvis against Carolina. Ironically, into the dog pound. Remember that one where he rolled out and just heaved it up and just dropped it in like a bomb
I
between
do
two
remember
guys.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2018.
The Jet game 2018 was Thursday night.
Right, but it was fourth game.
The Jets was the third game of the season. And then the Chiefs was
they were way down the line.
8, 9, the 9th game of the season.
Yeah.
And we were out of it at that point. We were 2-6-1 at that point. But interestingly enough,
he was feeling dangerous. He was throwing the ball. I look forward to playing like I was looking forward to Manziel playing. They're just exciting players to be on the field. It's not boring when either one of those two players was playing quarterback. They made success is one thing, but just the fact that the style of play that they had, it just made it interesting. Even though we're underdogs and we're probably going to lose, but when they did have success, it was really inspiring.
Looking at the guys on defense for us, a couple things on offense for us, other than Baker, who was a rookie at that point. Nick Chubb was our leading rusher, 22 carries, 85 yards and a touchdown. We gave Brashard Perriman the ball twice.
Yeah.
For a total of 9 yards. Duke Johnson carried it once for 8. So do we have more talent at the running back position right now?
Sure.
Yes, we do. Receiving, Duke Johnson led us with receiving with 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. David Njoku had 4 catches, 53 yards. David Njoku is basically not even... I mean, he was one of our most dangerous weapons in 2018. He's almost not even a part of the offense now.
Yeah, and hurt now.
Oh, is he hurt?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what. He tweaked something.
Something.
He's on the injury report, yeah.
And then our third guy was Callaway. 3 reception for 51 yards. And then down below that is Jarvis. So are we better in the receiving where we are from a wide receiver standpoint right now? I'd argue we are.
Yeah,
defense. To find a guy that's still on our team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys down in terms of the production that game is Myles Garrett. Tanner Vallejo led us in tackles. Then Jamie Collins, Jabril Peppers, Derek Kindred, Emmanuel Ogba, Jannard Avery, Christian Kirksey, TJ Carey, Tavon Colley, and then Myles Garrett. We have a completely different defense.
Yeah.
Completely different defense. I mean, different kick returner, different punt returner, different kicker, different punter. This is not the same Browns team that we were 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
And we're and different coach. I mean, Ryan just mentioned Stefanski. Different coach. We are a different team, and I think the Cleveland media, the national media, a lot of the Cleveland fans are still kind of living in the Browns aren't the Browns, like the Browns is the Browns, as Juju was saying. People are having a hard time.
We lost with that 28-point lead, that we would be crucified from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, same old Browns. Look at how badly, they haven't changed a key game and they can't do it, blah, 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 blah.
That would have been detrimental.
Oh, God, I would have hated that. So, and to live with that for for a long time and have to dig your way out of it.
Well,
The other
Dad, you coined it. You were going to coin it. It was like the drive, the fumble, and the collapse,
right, but
and
thank
that's what
God
it would have been. But I think this game is going to be remembered as Corvette.
Yeah.
I really will. If anybody ever says, "Do you remember the Corvette game?" Everybody will remember. And I got my. By the way, I just a real quick plug. I got my playoff bound Sabo apparel shirt today, and my dad's wearing the official Brownie post game shirt.
I thought I saw the top part of the logo sneaking out.
Yeah, you got the Brownie post game. I'm wearing some of my new birthday stuff, so I finally.
You know what? Before you say it, because I got to cut in. I see what you did here. You just totally snuck in with the Clark Griswold tonight. Didn't even say anything. You just snuck in with it.
I mean, honestly, and when he says the Clark Griswold, I think they even named this.
Yeah,
like, isn't it on the site, the Griswold?
Yes, the Griswold.
Okay, so this is, and I call it the Marty because this is the one I remember from Marty Schottenheimer wearing on the sidelines from all those other videos, and it's got a little puff. It's tough to see. Maybe I can get this. It's got a little puff, to it, so it's just, it's not flat against that. And I got the shirt, and then I've been working from home for forever. I don't even know where my wedding ring is. I just never wear the damn thing because I'm always at home. And I got one of the silicone.
That's what I got. Yeah,
Browns rings. I love it. I've been wearing it all day, and I almost never wear my wedding ring ever.
Wait a second, you got the Browns one?
I got the Browns one.
I've been trying so hard to get, because I have the gray silicone one, and I've been trying to get the Browns one, and every time I bring it up, my wife's like, "You at least got to give me one thing that's not the Browns." So you're not getting that. You're not getting
here, then do this.
It's been in my cart. I'm not lying to you. It's been in my cart like several different times.
You can turn it around, up inside out, and you got kind of like the Color Rush version.
Nice.
So, I mean, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it. I think there might even be multiple different colors. You said you have the gray one?
Yeah, I have a gray. I'm trying to think of the brand of. Does
Thanks,
yours
Chris.
have like the?
It has some brand in here. I don't know what brand it is. It's just.
I can't remember.
I don't know what it says here. It says something on here, but it's pretty. I mean, it's light. I've just been playing with it all day. I like it. So I'm gonna be sporting some more Brown stuff.
Guys made that surprised me. Again, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, and maybe it was Collinsworth that made the comment about Njoku. They were saying that a year ago or a year and a half ago he was in the doghouse because he wasn't a good blocker and they couldn't get him to block.
Who's that? Njoku?
On Njoku, and that's the reason he wasn't playing. Wasn't as highly thought of. And they completely reversed it and said maybe because of Callahan, I don't know, the offensive line coach or teaching him different techniques or what. But they said he's gone 180 degrees the other way. He's now the best blocking tight ends that the Browns have.
I did hear that.
Is that true?
You know what? Let's go to the numbers.
Oh,
and I got to tell you, one of the things that I thought was really interesting. Remember, back when the Browns were on Hard Knocks, and Devin Cajuste was the guy who was like, all exciting. I remember when you look at Cajuste right next to Njoku, I mean, they were just two different leagues in terms of athletic ability. And Njoku was sitting there trying to teach Cajuste how to block because Cajuste was a wide receiver in college trying to play tight end. And you're basically, when you're a tight end in the NFL, the vast majority of them are extensions of the offensive line before they're wide receivers. And then, Kelsey and Mark Andrews are probably the big exception. Maybe Kittle to a degree is an exception to that. Right. But the vast majority of them have to be a 50-50, at best, 50-50 complement between wide receiver and offensive line. And Njoku, he's got this like tank of a build. And it's like, I don't even think he knows like what he is, right? Because he's not like a Gronk. He's not that big, but he's also not as fluid as like a Kelsey or a Kittle or an Andrews. He's like somewhere in between. Whereas interestingly, I think, Austin Hooper is more fluid of a player, a receiver
Right.
than Njoku is.
You know, they're almost identical in size. All their measurables, they're almost identical. They're both Hooper and Njoku are both 6'4". Hooper's 254, Njoku's 246. Joku runs a 4.6 40, and Hoop runs a 4.7 40. So I mean, they're almost like the same guy, build and speed wise.
Yeah.
I would argue that Njoku's a little bit more elusive, but as far as the blocking numbers that you guys were looking for, I'll go down all three. We might as well go overall first.
And we got to look at Carlson too then.
Yeah, you know what? I'll throw them all in there just for
Right.
you. It's your birthday. I'll
All
throw
right.
Stephen Carlson in.
Can't sleep on Carlson.
No, you can't. Well, you might because his grade sucks. But anyway, if you look at the overall offensive grades, Hooper is a 68.6. Again, David right in the wheelhouse, 66.4. Carlson's at a 56.9. If you go to receiving, Bryant's at a 57.2. Hooper's at a 70.7. Njoku's at a 62.7. And Carlson's at 54. And then if you go to pass blocking, this is where you'll see the advantage in Njoku. Harrison Bryant is at a 68.8. Hooper is at a 62.1. Njoku's at a 76.5.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then Carlson's at a 63.5. And then if you go to run blocking, Bryant is a 60.6. Hooper is a 58.4. Njoku is a 63.7. And Carlson's a 58.8. So I mean, if you were just looking at game stats as far as PFF goes, we'll say, if you're just looking at the PFF grade, and then you're looking at the measurables in terms of height, weight, speed, they are
That's
Hooper
for
and
season, Mike?
what's that?
Is that for a season, those stats?
Yep, that's for the season. So I mean, you look at the two of them, and I mean it's almost on paper they're almost identical.
And that's kind of the unfortunate thing, that we had to go out there and spend money and resources on bringing in Austin Hooper, where if Njoku could have just stepped up and been that guy.
We drafted Bryant too. I mean,
and drafted Bryant, who.
What was that? Do you have last year's stats on him, on Justin Njoku, as far as PFF?
Let's see what I could do for you.
Because I think that's the story though on Njoku. I think this team, there's a couple things. I think Stefanski likes tight ends, so he wanted to carry a bunch, but you can clearly tell that David Njoku, being a first round pick, a tight end, he thought that he was going to be able to be a very featured player in this offense, and for whatever reason, it hasn't really snapped for him. And if you look at the tight ends who are like receiving type tight ends, and I don't see him like I just don't see him developing into that elite wide receiver type tight end, and that might be what he realized about his own game. To go, look, I'm not going to make it in this league if you look at just my receiving stats. I have to be a good blocking guy as well. And I think for this, especially for this Browns team, where we're a run first, or at least we want to be a run first team, you have to block. And honestly, if you think back, and I'm not looking at the stats, I'm just looking at just the eyeball test. There have been a lot of plays that got blown up by guys busting us over with Harrison Bryant and Hooper. Right? Yeah. Where they've blown us up, and then, Nick's got nowhere to go, or Kareem's got nowhere to go.
In looking at David's stats previously, right? It's pretty bizarre in a way, because if you think of Baker Mayfield, we're always saying, 2018 Baker, he was developing as a rookie, and there was something there, and then in 2019 they ruined him, and now, we're seeing the rebuilt version of Baker Mayfield. Well, if you look at Njoku's stats, you could almost say the same thing for him, because if you go back to 2018, his player grade was a 66.3, so it's sort of in the ballpark of where it is now. He was tied for 7th on the team in targets. He had 639 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, so it was promising.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to the year under Freddie, and he drops from a 66 overall to a 49.8 and a 48.3 in receiving. And all of a sudden he was hurt for a while.
And with the wrist broken wrist is.
And then you look at 2020, and even being the third tight end essentially in a lot of spots, his grade has improved. So, I don't think that. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens at the end of the year, because he's the type of person that I think we've seen some development this year out of him, and I don't know if I necessarily want to give up and just let him go right now.
Well, we picked up his 5th-year option, so we are, we have it, right? And
he's just been crying about that trade for a little while.
As far as possible trades, I'm sure they shopped him around when he wasn't, playing all that well, but then again, his street value wasn't all that high. So they said, well, what the hell? If you're going to give us a 7th round pick, we might as well just keep him.
Yeah.
And hope that we can turn him around. So, Austin Corbett, who went to the Rams. I mean, look at, his stats must have gone up tremendously from leaving us to the Rams, because he was an instant starter and has started every game for them since. Now, did we give up on him too early? Which those are always disasters. Did he just not like being in Cleveland, and he's more of a West Coast, mountain type of guy, and that Cleveland was just not his cup of tea? Did Callahan have a chance at Corbett before we cut him loose?
Yeah.
He was brought in. He was brought in this.
That would have been interesting to see
year.
if with that line
2020.
coach, whether he could have turned him around.
Yeah, you can't say enough about Callahan. I mean, just the job you saw. Dunn was a guy that came off the street in August, and I mean, he was like an 80.4 PFF grade this week. So you can't. I don't think you could say enough about Callahan. To your point, Dan.
It's weird. Callahan. I just remember.
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I just remember Callahan as being the guy who took John Gruden's other team to the Super Bowl in 2002. Remember that? And then lost to Gruden's Buccaneers that year, which was just wild. Callahan's, I just think of him as a head coach. It's just weird, but you're right. I mean, if Corbett had Callahan, could he have been better? Probably.
Yeah.
Thinking about tight ends for us, I was really hoping when we drafted Peppers and Njoku, I was like, we got some studs now. We have high level. The athletic ability with Peppers was off the charts, and the athletic ability from an Njoku standpoint was right there. He was a freak athlete, but if you really think about it, the best tight end we've had since we've been back easily was Kellen Winslow, and he had production wise, and although Njoku isn't as much of a knucklehead off the field, obviously, as Kellen Winslow while he was a Brown, and then definitely post Browns, he just hasn't been. He's not a guy who's going to catch 87 balls.
Right.
He's just not. And but I don't. The weird thing about this team is we are, and this is something again to think about about the draft. Like, we don't need to draft we don't need to draft skill positions. We are skilled. We're well skilled. Even to Ernest Johnson, I wouldn't get rid of him either. He should be our backup running back, our third string running back and kick returner. 100%. We're good there. Wide receivers, we're good. We're fine. Maybe even if we get Natson back, who knows? And then we need a little bit of offensive line depth because, Nick Harris is okay, but they keep getting injured. They're going down like flies. I think every one of our offensive linemen this year have been injured in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. Teller came into the season injured.
You got pounded every play. It's not like a wide receiver you can take a play off or two. And, it's going to be a running play.
It's a brutal.
They get pounded they're expected to run block, and then all of a sudden they're expected to pass block, do totally different techniques, and you could be the GOAT, if your guy pancakes you or throws you to the side and sack the quarterback, hurt the quarterback. So it's a tough position. Any of those positions in the trenches like that, game after game after game, and then you get into those pileups, and somebody gets pushed back, and somebody backs up on your leg or whatever. I mean,
just freak injuries.
Don't get hurt just because of the physicality of banging heads that close to one another on the offense and defensive line.
Yeah, I'll have to ask my friend Jake, who came on, who played for Arkansas and Texas, played offensive line, and I'll have to ask him about like just the durability, just getting pounded like that. Like, how do you get through that? I mean, he's a big guy, but
just look at the teams. Probably, I can't recite them, but I'll go, based on my recollection, the teams that have suffered when they're, I guess Dallas would be a good example. Their team changes dramatically when you lose one or two of your linemen, your offensive linemen, because it opens up. You have to change your offense because you can't run the ball, or maybe you can't pass block, and you're worried about getting injured and whatnot. So, if you can keep your offensive line together for a season, Pittsburgh used to do that all the time. Their guys used to be really durable, and you face the same guys over and over and over.
Even go back to the 90s, they were just brutal.
Yeah. So, I mean, it says a lot if you can keep your line together for 5, 6, 7 games in a row.
But I think it could be said about just about every position, because, but I think offensive line is so critical, right? Where I was looking at a mock draft, and they were having the Jets, who picked at number 2, drafting that tackle out of Oregon, a big tackle, and I think they got Mekhi Becton with their first pick last year. Imagine drafting 2 top 10 offensive line like tackles, basically ensuring that you're going to have good coverage on both sides of the offensive line, right? But even then, it's not enough. You can't have you can't have a weak spot. You're only as good as your weakest offensive lineman, because they'll exploit it.
Absolutely.
If you go back and look at that watch this last Steelers game, where we're in those plays where Baker didn't have time or ran out of time, they were coming right through those guys who had just come in the game. Mm-hmm. And not to say that they did a bad job, it wasn't, but they're not Joel Bitonio, right? So, and I think this is the one really critical thing for us. If we are at full strength, like true full strength, I would not count us out of this game.
No, I'm telling you.
And you know what? As weird as this sounds, the team that scares me the most in this playoff on the AFC side is Baltimore.
Yeah, the Ravens.
They're the scariest one, because
I don't think they get past the Bills this weekend.
God, I hope. I think it's supposed to snow or be like really, really
it's
ugly
cold
weather.
Cold and snow showers.
Wow.
And that could be another thing. But we'll see. I mean, let's see what Lamar can do. But if you can take Lamar out of the game and take his X factor away, because it's raining or snowing or sleet or whatever, and then you make it that much harder for him to pass, you're right. I don't think that they get past because Josh Allen's got, hand. Like I saw Josh Allen holding a football, and his hand, it looks like those little mini ball, like the little mini footballs that we played with the kid. His whole hand wraps around the ball. The same thing with Cam Newton. Cam Newton can wrap his whole damn hand around the ball, and it makes it look like he's playing with like a little tiny football, like a little baby football. And it's, for those guys who can do that.
I remember when I was in high school, I could not play quarterback because I must have medium to small hands. But, the football that we had in practice and whatnot, I could barely hold the ball and throw it. And before that, I could throw the football fairly well. But when I got to high school, the ball was bigger, whatever. I could not, throw a long, tight, hard spiral. And so being quarterback was out of the question for me.
Yeah, there's one thing that when I played football, which is it's something that always stuck with me about my me physically. We used to do my football team in high school. We used to do like morning practice in the summers, like morning practice, and then you could come back in the afternoon, just about every day. I mean, you could go every day to do it. I came from a very like militant type program, and in the morning, we do our weight training, and then we do our running, and then we throw some balls. I throw probably like 30 to 50 balls just throughout the morning, and then go home, relax, chill, and then come back at like 6:00 and do it again. It was a little bit lighter, and then throw. And my God, I could throw so much better in the afternoon, to the point where the coaches were like, "I don't think this kid can play quarterback," to "This kid can definitely play quarterback." There was something that they saw between that. And what I did, and then what I would do is during the football season, we had like a gym class, and I had gym class like third or fourth period, and the gym class was taught by the JV football coach. So he would just let us sit instead of like doing whatever we had to do with that. He's like, if you wanted, we didn't have to do anything, especially if it was a game day. We didn't have to do anything. And so we would sit in the varsity locker room and just have a football and just like toss it lightly back and forth to each other, toss it. And it would just loosen my arm up enough that it felt great at the end of the day. So any of you young quarterbacks out there, anybody who's like young, and if you're just developing and you're not full adult strength yet, loosening up early in the day was always something that was critically important for me. I'm sure like these guys in the pros are doing all kinds of crazy stuff to loosen up and get ready, but it's not all about just warming up before the game. It's an all day process to warm up. I personally believe. That's just my advice. Same thing with baseball. Baseball, if you warm up early in the day and then relax and then warm up a little bit before the game, you're going to play better. But anyway, long story short, sorry guys. I think that's the thing. If we can get past the Chiefs, I think we match up better against Buffalo than we do against Baltimore, and I don't want to go back to Baltimore to play there again.
I don't want to lose to them 3 times.
I don't want to lose to them 3 times, and I don't want to go back to their stadium.
Right.
Buffalo, their stadium, it's not as it's just not as like antagonistic,
I could tell you this though, Mike. We go in on Sunday and we win. We beat the Chiefs on Sunday. Don't even worry about who they're playing the following week. The destiny is on. And we'll see it. We'll see in Tampa. It doesn't matter. That's my belief.
My God, guys.
Good point.
And we've and this isn't any jinx or anything like that. We've done this all season. We talk about the upcoming game. So this is just one of those things. But you guys realize we're 3 football games away from from the Super Bowl. You know, we're
Yeah,
eight quarters of football away from a berth to the Super Bowl.
A couple of years ago, we were 3 wins away from 3 wins.
Yeah. Now
Exactly.
we're 3 games away from the biggest game in the world. And you know, and this is what I've been saying. Like I was saying it as a joke earlier that they're gonna make a movie out of the season. You know, I think Dad, you were like, well, at the very least, they'll make a 30 for 30 out of it. All right. But if they
You
made a
know, the
movie,
30 to 30 is coming out anyway, called Corvette.
they gotta have some. Yeah, I mean, it would be great.
That will eventually be out. It's got to be.
I'll direct it.
There you go.
I'll take on the project.
I think you would do a fine job.
You know, I need to do a feature length film. Um, but they, you know, it's funny. I want to have, and I didn't do it today. I want to have a video or like a hype video that doesn't show a single actual football highlight.
Oh, I could dig that.
That's what I want to do. That's my next like thing. Cause it's funny because every time I put out a new hype video, we get people that are like, "Hey, I made this video. Check this out. What do you think of this? Like, you're awesome at it. So tell me what you think." And I look at it and I'm like, "Yeah, it's highlights with some music. It's the highlights from the game, and you pick the song and you put music behind it." I'm like, it's not to say that I'm poo pooing on it because I think it's bad. I think it's good work. It's fine work. It's what the vast majority are. That's not the kind of hype videos I like to make. And I say no to projects quite a bit because of that. But I would love, that's my goal, is to get everybody excited about a Browns game or a Browns, you know, pep rally type hype video without using a single on-field highlight. That'd be fun. I just don't have the only place I can really get that stuff is from building the Browns. Yeah. And there's only so much of it because I'm getting the post-production, you know, aspect of it.
Hey guys, I gotta go. But before I go, we Mom, you know, and I are in transition here in Florida. We are trying to put our house up for sale. We have no place to go other than to move up to where Michael is in Orlando. If that
you could move in with Baker and First Energy.
That works, but we don't have anything, you know, picked out to go to or whatever. And of course, we still need to sell our house. And unfortunately, the open house is this Sunday at 1 to 4 o'clock.
Oh, no.
So, Michael, I may need you to fill in for me, both pre and post, because I'm scrambling as we speak to find a friend that will invite me over to their house so I can watch the game. We got to get out. I can't be in the house while we have 14 confirmed showings that are coming. To this point, we'll probably get closer to 20 by the time Sunday rolls around. And I can't come back until 4:30. And so I may go just down to the club and watch it in the grill room with your mom. But that'll preclude me, you know, doing the pre and the post. So Michael, hopefully you can
take that worry off your mind
and fill in for me. That would be good. I'll call in and obviously either be crying or celebrating one or the other. And you guys, you put me on, but that's what I'm dealing with now. And hopefully things work out. I might, you know, Tony, my good friend Tony, has plans, but he said maybe I'll change my plans. And so I don't want him to change his plans just so he can accommodate me coming over to watch the Browns, because he's a Giants fan. He's not a Browns fan. So, but
actually, this is a question that just came in on the chat from Chubba Wubba Hub 24. Asks, "Hey Mike, if the Browns go to the Super Bowl, are you going to go since it's in Florida?" I don't know which Mike you're addressing that to. I'm assuming me, but
yeah, it's got to be you.
I'm assuming also, but I'd like to know, Mike, would you come down for the Super Bowl?
Post-COVID, pre-COVID, I'd be there. Now, I probably would not take the chance.
You know, it's I don't even think. I don't
even know if they're going to have it.
I think they'll have. It's in Florida, so they'll have fans. The whole stadium won't be filled. I think it'll be irresponsible for them to fill a whole stadium.
Sure, I'll be being criticized, especially if there was an outbreak or whatever, you know?
Yeah,
The
it
one
would
thing
be.
that I have heard though, because Laura and I talk about this all the time, because we've always said when the Browns make the Super Bowl, we're going. We don't care how much it costs. But then I've talked to people that have gone to the Super Bowl and said that it was actually boring
Mm.
as opposed to
Were they fans of
watching
the
it at
team
home.
though?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
I think the games and attending the games, I would agree with you, Mike. I've heard some of that too, but it's the week before. It's all the festivities that they
yeah.
hold, with kids, throwing footballs, they're signing autographs, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's just the hype for the whole week. It used to be 2 weeks. It used to be
Yeah,
2 weeks.
it
The
did used to
hype,
be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
for
If
the Super
do you,
Bowl,
I
they're
guess.
like, God, get the game on. I'm tired of this stuff. But now they've cut it back to a week. That would be the fun thing in Tampa, I think, going because the weather would be nice and you'd be outside, a lot of activities and whatnot. But
I
yeah,
mean,
the game itself probably is boring.
if the Browns made the Super Bowl and we could get somehow, I don't know what kind of tickets get you access to like those events.
Right?
I'm sure like you got to pay big money for those events because I know they do they do a lot of the national championship stuff down here. They have a bunch of bowl games in the Citrus Bowl, which is here in Orlando, and they sell like special tickets for events to that. Um, but I mean, I'm only an hour and a half away from Tampa.
Yeah.
If the Browns made the Super Bowl, I would take a week off of work. And I think we'd go and spend a
Oh,
lot. We'd spend a lot because I mean,
we might go to the game itself, but we would certainly go to all those that week of festivities.
oh, I'd be
Either,
live streaming like crazy from Tampa,
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
nonstop. I'd be live streaming from Tampa with everything going on, and then just giving you live reports of what's happening. You wouldn't be able to get a hotel. My friend Matt would put us up, I'm sure, for a day or two. We couldn't
Right.
live with him for a week, but I mean, even just driving. We wake up in the morning, we drive down there.
We rent an RV, Mike, and
Or just like
drive
live in the
down.
RV.
Yeah, live
Speaking
in the
of
RV for a couple of days.
Could
speaking
do
of
that.
moving, yeah, I mean, if you do, Dan, if you want to go back up to Pennsylvania, I hear that Baker is renting out Heinz Field.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's going to be a little vacant for a while.
I love how it's like Baker's got the most wins in Heinz Field in 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. Like, the memes, and now they're calling this the Insurance Bowl because Mahomes with State Farm and Baker with Progressive. If I'm the ad agencies that's working on that, I would be going nuts.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity that just never happens. How much like free earned media you're gonna get for this.
So, all right, I'm out of here, guys. You guys take over, finish it up. Great job, and we will, one way or the other, we'll communicate on Sunday.
You got it.
And certainly be watching the game and be very interested. So it's something I'm really looking forward to, and with Go Brownies.
Go Browns.
All right, see you, Dad. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a fun one, dude. It's gonna be a
good.
wild one.
Yeah.
What time is the game at? I think it's like 3:00.
3:05.
Do we know what's the schedule for this weekend in terms of all the games?
Saturday night is the Bills and Ravens. Saturday day game. I was just looking at this. We're to 3:05, and then
Saturday. So Rams Packers is
Saturday at 1, right?
Saturday at 4:35.
Okay, and then the Tampa game is that,
Sunday night. So it
6:35 or
goes
something like
Rams
that.
Packers, then Ravens Bills
Yeah.
on Saturday, then Browns Chiefs, and then Bucks Saints. And honestly, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't want another, late game. Like I like this 3:05.
And
It's perfect.
And you and I talked about this the other day. I have never. If you said to me, somebody was playing a joke on you, and they slowed down time on Sunday, and that was the reasoning why you felt like the day lasted 7 days. I'd probably believe it because I have never been a part of a day. Even I've had work days that have dragged less. Like I just it felt like 8 o'clock was never ever gonna get there.
At about 5 o'clock, I think we're no, it was early. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock. We're getting ready to eat and, like, have a late lunch because we knew we were going to go on at 6, and then the game was right after that. So at about 3 o'clock, I started pacing.
I
And
wish it was 3 o'clock. I started pacing at like 10:05 in the morning. It was terrible. It was terrible. I was on edge. Oh, my wife said, "Go find something to do. I can't continue to watch you just walk around all over the place." I really was. I needed it to happen.
yeah, it started to get, I'm walking around, I'm making my wife and my mom and my dad, I'm making them anxious. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm 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 on edge. I'm on edge,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to get nervous. Oops, I'm starting to get a little bit like I'm just ready for this. And
Yeah.
I told my mom, I told everybody, guys, I'm warning you right now. I'm very, very invested in this season, and I'm very emotional when I watch the games. And I don't want to hear any comments. I don't want to hear like random questions. I don't want to hear any of that. I I just want to watch the game and have my dad next to me, and we'll chatter about what's going on. But I don't want to answer anything. I don't want to be taken. It's almost like when you're sitting there and you're watching a great movie and then people are talking. It's like
Right.
I don't want to hear people talking. I want to be in the moment, and I don't want to be taken out of the experience. And I felt bad. My mom was like, "Okay, well, I won't talk then." And I was like, "Look, it's fine, but I'm gonna be on edge. I'm not the easiest person to watch Browns games with." Um,
I, Mike, I got to tell you, and I'd like to know your thoughts, and I'd like to know the chat's thought, but it has been a very very long time that I'm trying to see how I could explain this. The only way I could explain it is simply this: so many big things happened in the first half, one after the other, and I was so hyped up and on edge that the way in which I celebrated each individual thing that was positive, I feel like I was in a car wreck. Like my body by the end of that game, I felt like somebody beat me up. Like my celebrations were so violent.
Dude, and it's funny because I know, like you'll text me something like, like OMG, and I'll text you OMG, and that's
Yeah.
like the only thing you we don't have the ability to express what's actually going on. It'd be funny if I live streamed like an actual game, because I'm standing up, I'm pulling my hair out, I'm
Somebody would probably call the
screaming
cops on us.
screaming at the TV. I have a neighbor down the street who's a big Browns fan. I invited him over. I'm like, "You got to come over and watch a game with me." He's like, I can't. I am just too angry and violent during a game. I can't watch it with anybody else." And my wife even, she's like, "You gotta stop yelling." I wake the baby up. I mean, the baby naps.
You can't help it though. It's we're so invested.
I know. It's like, and I, we only lost, what, 5 games this year,
Yeah.
right? We've lost 5 games,
Think
and
about that. We're 12-5 on the season.
there'd be so many. How many seasons do we only win 5 games?
How many Victory Wednesday mugs did I drink bourbon out of during this season?
Plenty,
Plenty.
plenty, and you know, it's wild because I feel like I'm so, and I'm sure chat, I'm sure everybody here would agree that we are all emotionally attached to the Browns. We're
Yeah.
emotionally attached, and it's like, because I have friends that aren't diehard fans of any team. Um, like, I'm a New York Mets fan. on the baseball side. And I'm sorry about Lindor, guys. I'm sorry. But I'm not like a die-hard Mets fan, but I'm a Mets fan. I grew up a Mets fan. I identify as a Mets fan. But I'm not invested in the Mets emotionally. When they made to the World Series and that when they make the playoffs, then I start to care a little bit more. But during the regular season, there's just so much that goes on with Major League Baseball. You can't be emotionally involved like you can in football, either college football or professional football. I used to be really emotionally attached to Virginia Tech. I've taken a step back off of that because honestly, it was bad for my health to have that to have that much emotional because I used to have a Virginia Tech podcast. It was
Yeah.
called The Hokie Podcast. We had hokiepodcast.com. It was awesome. But it was too much
You
because
started getting left arm pain, and you're like, I got to stop.
yeah, I feel it going down there, smelling walnut, and it was just like to have every one of my weekends so consumed that my happiness would depend on something I have no control over. Like Kevin Stefanski said, he's like, I have a newfound respect for the Browns fans who sit and watch these games on TV when you have no control. You're so emotionally invested in it, but you have no control over it, and it's like it's terrifying
Did
in a
you hear
lot
what
of
he said
ways.
on the presser the other day about the game, the first play? Did you hear that? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, where his kids were like,
Yeah, he was on.
he's like, I must hit the pause button. I don't
You,
know.
you want to laugh? So that really that really hit me a certain way when I heard that, and if you guys in the chat didn't hear it, Stefanski basically said on the first play when they snapped the ball over his head and we scored the touchdown that he heard his kids going crazy upstairs, but it hadn't happened yet, and he must have paused the game somewhere earlier, and the reason why it struck a chord with me is I'll give you, this will be Mike's one story for the Wednesday show. I feel like I always have at least one, but the ironically enough, the Steelers Cardinals Super Bowl, right? The Antonio Holmes toe tap, if you will.
Yes.
So years ago, and we had a party at our place, and it was all my band members at the time, and just our good friends, and me and my one buddy, um, Nick in the chat. He knows who I'm talking about, Sean. But our thing was always, he would always come over Sunday. We'd get big bucket of wings, whatnot. So we had this big party, and we must have bought. I think because I was talking to Laura about this the other day. I want to say we had 135 wings for that party, and I must have eaten. He still laughs about it. He just actually messaged me every day. He's like, "You remember that Super Bowl when you must have ate like 70 wings by yourself?" And he's not exaggerating. We actually coined the phrase after that Super Bowl, and I'll let you know about that in a second. But point being, it was the beginning of DirecTV, or I should say the DVR, right?
Yeah.
So we're watching this game. Everybody's invested. You're hoping that the game's not going to end, and the stupid Steelers are going to win. And if you could picture me huddled in the corner of the kitchen, still stuffing my face with wings, right? And all these years later, it dawned on me. We paused the Super Bowl during the halftime show because there were people outside, hanging out, smoking or whatnot, and we had to call them back in. Well, I didn't realize I had the game on pause. And as I'm sitting in the corner, stuffing my face with wings, my phone was right in front of me. And it was, if you remember, that the Cardinals were driving at the end to try and score it. And I can't remember what happened, but obviously they didn't. And everybody's on edge. I'm slurping down wings. It doesn't even dawn on me. All of a sudden, my phone alerts and it's like Pittsburgh Steelers win Super Bowl, whatever. I'm like, the Steelers won the Super Bowl. I just got an alert. And I turn around and they all just give me the evil eye. And they're like, "Don't you realize the game's not?" I'm like, "Oh shit! I just realized what I just did. Oh my god!" They were mad at me for months and months and months and months, to the point where if Sean comes over to watch a game, The first thing he says to me, and all the time, are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Because of that Super Bowl. But I'll end that story with the simple fact of that Super Bowl and those 70 plus wings, and I wasn't the only one that had a lot of them. But let's just say the morning after was rough, and we actually coined the phrase honest,
Honest.
honest. And that is when you got fire ass.
Honest.
Honest.
Got it. I have a similar story to that. Do you remember the Eli? I want to say I don't know if it was the first, or the second. I'm pretty sure it was the first one. Um, the David Tyree catch
Yeah, on his head.
on his head. So it's same thing. DirecTV,
Damn them.
DVR,
It's direct TV. See?
DirecTV, DVR, and I had it set to watch the Super Bowl. And for some reason, I didn't like the Super Bowl went late. It went longer than the regular scheduled time.
Oh,
And then
boy.
there's another thing afterwards that was like on the DVR ready to go.
Yeah.
And so they're driving down, and right as like they're driving down, and then something happens and it switches over to a different channel. I didn't do it.
No.
And I'm sitting there like, what the hell happened? And then I flip back. I lost like
that's where
3
you got
minutes
it.
of the
That's where
game.
you got it. The flip back.
The 3 minutes of the game I lost, and it was I clicked right back when Eli was throwing the pass to David Tyree, and I'm like, I lost all of the drama. And I was
Leading up to that.
watching it. I was like into it. I'm like, okay, this is great. This is good. Something's happening here, and boom. And I was like, oh motherfucker. And I actually like so I watch the games with on YouTube TV now, right?
Yeah.
Which is good. It's good. It's not DirecTV quality, but it's good. And every once in a while, because it's data as opposed to like a cable feed, it buffers, and not buffers, but it like it goes down to like 240p or something for like a second or two, and you're like, come on, like I'm paying money for this. This is a fucking NFL game. This is not like we're watching Lifetime. This is an important game.
Right. We're not watching a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Right. And so, but the funny thing is my dad used to love the DirecTV remote. He'd be like, let's just go back and watch that play again and rewind it. And I'm like, Dad, you're killing me with this. I don't care. Like, just watch the game. But he loved to go back and analyze the plays with the remote control. And now we can't do that because God forbid if we went to rewind and then we couldn't get it back up or something because it's all over the internet. So he doesn't have any control of the remote. But he used to love. I don't know. Did you see that the Browns were the highest rated TV show?
Since last Super Bowl? Since
the last Super Bowl. I mean, if that doesn't tell you something. Now, I know the Steelers have a lot of fans, across the nation as well. And it's a rivalry game, it's a playoff game. There's a lot of narratives on the line with the game, right? I didn't expect it to be that crazy in terms of like but I think the Browns are so interesting.
Yeah, they really are.
Because we're that Cinderella story. We've got some big name guys: Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb. Any of the people who play, everybody play fantasy, so everybody's drafting Browns players because they're scoring a lot of points. So they're familiar. They're kind of, they have an attachment to those players to a certain degree, especially if you're in like a, one of those keeper league type things.
Yeah.
Right. So you had a lot of drama was on the line, and then the way that it started, where we got up and got up so big so quickly, it probably drew more people in.
Yeah, I would think so.
Because they're like, are the Browns gonna collapse?
Mike, I don't know about you, but I literally, after, I guess it was 21-0. When we went up 21-0, I started getting text messages from friends that I haven't talked to in like years.
Yeah, me too.
Years. Like all of a sudden my phone, I was just starting to get, oh my God, guys got a team or whatever. I'm like, huh, interesting.
Yeah, no, I was getting text messages out of the blue from, coworkers, friends from high school, friends from college.
Yeah,
I mean, because everybody kind of knows me and a lot of my identity, and I'm proud to say is that I'm a Browns fan.
yeah,
And there's not that many outside of Cleveland. Uh, I know there are Browns fans that are out there, and there's Browns backers everywhere and everything like that. So I don't mean to downplay it. Like I'm the one guy, but I mean I wear the Brown stuff all the time. I got the flag in the background, so all my Zoom calls for work and everything because I work from home. Every client that I talk to sees it and is like, "Hey, you Browns fan? Are you from Ohio?" And then you get into the conversation. So
yeah.
everybody knows me as Mike the Browns fan. And then if you see me on Twitter, obviously, it's all Brown stuff.
Mm.
So everybody was out there just congratulating me and just being like, I think the I think I think the Browns right now are the opposite of the Steelers and the opposite of the Ravens, who are two very unlikable teams. Ben Roethlisberger is an unlikable guy.
Yeah,
The the stuff that Juju was doing by dancing on the logo is an unlikable negative sentiment drawing action, right? So
absolutely.
that's the Steelers. Plus the Steelers have won a lot and beat a lot of other people's teams, so other people don't like the Steelers and they're boring as hell, right? So there's that. Then you got the Ravens who are pulling that stuff against Tennessee where they're jumping on their logo, not shaking hands, that kind of stuff. Again, it's an unlikable move.
Yeah,
You want to be the bad guys. You want to wear the black hat. You got to take the heat that comes with that. You're not going to be, America's team by doing things like that. And the Browns are positioned. Everybody loves a while. America loves these Cinderella stories, these comeback stories. If anything else, it's got to be the top like story theme, right? Is comeback.
yeah.
People love it, and
You know what I
that's
love?
it.
I love the fact that it is what, July, July, January 15th.
13th.
Is it 13th?
Oh, the
Wait a
game,
minute. No, I'm trying to figure out what day it is.
the
See, this is what
day.
happens when you start working from home. You don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, I only
So,
know it's my birthday.
and I know it's cold. It's not July. So the best part is January 13th. Get that right. And I have, I have my neighbor is a Steelers fan, but he's a nice Steeler fan. He's not, one of those, you know, nasty talking, and I've got Steeler fans all around. And to be on January 13th, and I've got my dog pound flag waving in the wind. I've got my elf garden flag right by the walkway. I've got I took the Christmas wreath off and I put the Browns wreath back on last week. I've got my Cleveland Browns doormat, and it's out there. It's not out there like it usually is, right? Like you would always have your flag out. It didn't matter if they were, 1-15 or 3-13. We love this team, so it doesn't matter. People could drive by and laugh at us. It doesn't matter. That's my team. Like
Yeah,
I have a closet full of their wear. All I wear is brown shit.
yeah,
And to be able to have that stuff out there and it actually means something right now in terms of we've got a winning squad and we're for real. Pretty good damn feeling.
yeah. And to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. I
Yeah.
mean, I've never been a fan of any team that is dominated. Closest thing I could think to that might be like the United States Olympics team. It's like where we're
And
like,
they are
okay,
dominant.
cool, we're dominant, we win a lot, but I don't really care about it. I'm not a passionate Olympics fan. But my baseball team doesn't win, my college football team doesn't win, and my NFL team. I tell people, I'm like, don't follow the teams I follow because you're not going to have a very fun weekends if you follow my teams. But
I mean,
it just it makes it so much better And I always thought, and I was like, it just doesn't, we talk about statistics, like statistically, it doesn't make sense that we're the one team that can never get it right. That we never seem to get the draft right. We never seem to get the coaches right. We never seem to find a quarterback who can play. And it just statistically, it's an anomaly. And, for anybody who plays, roulette in Vegas, it statistically it is impossible for it to come up the same color every time. It is statistically impossible. You can get on a run. I've seen it where like it shows up black like 20 times in a row. And when you see that, start betting black cuz like just go. But
Right.
but you can't, you know, it can't always happen. And finally, going back to that 1 in 15 year, and then when we got Miles Garrett, that was really that was the beginning, right? Was it the
Yeah.
1 in 15 where we got Miles and then we got Baker with the 0 in 16, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like those two, and then after the game, you see those two guys who play on different sides of the ball, and they probably don't interact a whole heck of a lot together because they're in their own little fiefs within the team. But
Yep.
those two guys have to realize that as they go, so go the Browns.
Absolutely.
And they will get all the credit when the good things happen and all the criticism when the bad things happen. We've been critical about Miles. We've been critical about Baker last year with some of the actions that Miles had and, level of play this year. I wanted to see Miles step up and be a every play disruptive force. And until he got COVID, he was that guy. And he was also trying to come back from the character issues that everybody's trying to paint him with the Mason Rudolph, thing. And he's done that, and I think he's gotten past it. He
Yeah.
knows, and he's been mature about it. He's like, I know it's always going to be something that's there. It's almost like committing a crime. You commit a crime, it's always going to be on your record. It's always going to be something that people think of, but it doesn't have to define you as a person.
Yeah.
And
He's done a really good job of just doing the right thing
yeah,
and putting that past him. I mean, look no further than the Browns Man of the Year.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, he's done an awesome job with that. Baker Mayfield, the same way. Baker, you know, Baker, instead of having it out with the media, he's decided to kind of clown the media this year and troll them, with the hip hop lyrics and the pressers and, turning his hat on backwards after this. I mean, Colin Cowherd was completely trolling with his bit, being like, hey, he's a
Yep.
backwards hat quarter. It was nothing. It was Colin just coming up with something to see if he could get under Baker's skin, and he
Yep.
did. And like that's the thing that bothers me. Baker should have just been like, I mean, he should have just not done any. He should have not reacted to it at all. But
You know him.
him and Colin just are,
He,
are
he had to
always going
do
to
it.
have that. But here's the thing, and this is the thing that we've talked about, in terms of the Browns getting respect. You don't get respect. You got to earn it, and you got to earn respect by winning.
Yep.
You look at the Chiefs. If they would have lost to the Patriots, um, in the NFC Championship game, and then lost the Super Bowl the next year. If you do that, you're great. You're a good team. You're a very good team, but you're not. The narrative would be this is a team that can't seem to get over the top. And with the Browns, it has always been like this is a team that can't even get started,
Yep.
go on a run at all. And we finally have gotten there. And you'll notice that the people are like, okay, well, I'm not gonna, they can't badmouth Baker. They can't badmouth the coaches. They can't badmouth the rest of the team because we're winning. And do we have stars? And are we aligned at every single position? No, we're not. No team is. No team is perfect. Even the teams that were the best in history, they all had soft, weak spots. But this is definitely a team that is going in the right direction. And to be honest, without having those bad years, it wouldn't feel the same as it would feel good now, but I don't think it would feel the same.
Yeah.
You know, like I look at like a team like the Dolphins. You know, I live in Florida,
Mhm.
right? And I've lived in South Florida for quite a while, and then moved up here to Orlando. And the Dolphins, to me, I mean, even when they had Marino, and Marino had a lot of good years,
Yep.
but they just seem to be a team that every single year is going to be anywhere between 9-7 and 10-6. Those That's what they're going to be every year. So you're not going to be good enough. You're not going to be bad enough to secure a really early draft pick that's going to be an impact player right away. But you're also not going to be able to get past to the next level.
Yeah.
And you know, they never gave Marino a running back. He had decent receivers, but not elite receivers ever. And they never built around him. Same thing that Detroit did with Barry Sanders. They never put elite players around him to really take advantage of what Barry Sanders was, like the Bears did with Walter Payton. And then they went on this streak of just being average or below average. And yet I will tell you, in Miami, and the only thing I have respect for in terms of Miami fans is they are diehard Miami Dolphins fans, win or lose.
Really?
That fan base, that whole town in Miami, all of South Florida, is all Miami Dolphins.
Hmm.
You know, do they care about the Marlins? Not really. Not really at all. Do they care about the Heat when they're good? Yes, but only when they're good. They're not a loyal fan base there. And then the Florida Panthers, who play in Broward, I'm surprised they're still even there.
Yeah.
But the and then the Miami Hurricanes, but it's not the same. It's not like Ohio State, right? So, but they're a team, and then, you know, they were so close to making the playoffs this year. They controlled their own destiny. All they had to do was beat the Bills. If they beat the Bills, I we didn't we controlled our own destiny by beating the Steelers. I don't know if would they have overcome the Colts? They might have. They might have overcome the Colts by sneaking into that last wild card spot if they would have beat the Bills. Yeah, because they would have. Because I think the Colts were 10-6 and they would have been 11-5.
Yep.
So that's what happens, guys. I mean, like, you can go through long patches of being amazing, like the Patriots, and that's the yin and the yang. The Patriots were amazing, and we were that yang to their yin, right? So that was the balance of the force that happened in the NFL. And then now
Star Wars on us.
Yeah, and now you've got teams like the Chiefs, maybe the Packers, who are like the elite teams.
Yep.
And then you got the Jaguars and the Jets. You always have that synchronization on both sides of it. But I think it works at a micro level, one season at a time, and at a macro level, multiple seasons or multiple generations at a time. And we unfortunately were the doorstop.
We were the bottom of the barrel.
We were the bottom of the barrel for a long time. And, you know, unlike 2007, where I thought we had young players at some positions.
You would have never thought after that 2007 year that we would have waited this long to get back to a winning record. Like, really, if you think about it, like, when you think back to that team, I mean, DA, Quinn, Braylon, Winslow, like
Lewis,
Joe Thomas, like, you were like, oh
yeah,
man,
young Joe Thomas.
Yeah, like, this is, wow. I mean, I remember, at least for me too, like, I remember back then it was like, oh, we got over the hump. Now it's going to be, we're going to start putting winning seasons together and we're going to get to the dance. And man,
smooth sailing from there.
Not the case?
I mean, looking back at that that 2007 season, which was my favorite season since we came back. Before this one, my favorite season.
Yeah, that was a great. I mean, that Buffalo game was the decider.
And the next closest one, I think, to that was Baker's rookie year in 2018. That was my second favorite because we were playing relevant football all the way to the very end.
That was year one of my season tickets, and that will always be um that'll always be a special year.
Did were you on the waiting list for a while?
No, that's I mean that's the funny part, and it's funny because Nick in the chat he'll tell you um, that was on a whim. Like I literally we went 0-16, and I was sitting at work, and I had been chatting with Austin from the Browns. He's one of the managers now in the ticket sales, and we had been chatting about season tickets or whatnot. And I was like, yeah, they must be so cheap now. And he was like, dude, like it's crazy, how cheap and what's available. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, but how am I gonna go to, like, am I gonna drive? Am I gonna
You need to
fly
8
there? Like,
games. Yeah.
and 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 I see, look at the chat, look at Nick. So I
Out of
so
nowhere, he got those tickets.
yeah, so I'm talking about it, and and in all honesty, I think I might have asked him before I even said anything to Laura, and I was like, dude, I I could get like good seats for dirt cheap. There's no waiting list. I'm surprised that they weren't giving the tickets away. So then I'll never forget. So I went to go see Laura, and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And she thought I was extremely crazy at first, and we're both very supportive of each other. So she's like, if you want to do it, I'm all for it. We'll take some road trips, have fun, whatever. So I'm like, all right. So I literally, got back to him, and I was like, hey, let's do it. I want to be in the dog pound. And he was like, all right, where and what have you. And there was, a couple little things that went on in between. But long story short, I wound up in the 15th row in the dog pound. And today, you'd never get like those seats are gonna. You're not getting those seats. Like those seats are, because I'm never getting rid of them. And I already told my daughters, you better figure out which one of you is going to go to the Browns games, because this is a family affair. So figure it out. But yeah, I mean, to be able, I just got lucky, and I got in, at the right time, and that year was just, yeah, it was a pretty cool, one day I'll FaceTime you. I'll show you the Laura made a book of that whole season on Snapfish,
Oh,
right? Snapfish is called.
I know what you're
And
talking about. Yeah, it's one of
yeah,
those like.
and dude, it was really, really, really well done. She gave it to me. It was one of my Christmas presents.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, that Christmas, but it's pretty badass. Nick's seen it.
Yeah, so back in so we I mean I would go to like a Tampa game every year because the Browns would play them in preseason. So the Tampa ticket guys kept reaching out to me like, "Hey, you want to come back for a Bucks game?" I'm like, "I don't like the Bucks. I like the Browns. I only come for the Browns. That's it. And you guys don't play." It's not like I lived in Baltimore where I'm like, "Well, at least I get a Browns game a year." Even then, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
Um, but we had a major league soccer team that came down here in like 2014. I think 2014 they actually were elevated into MLS, and then they were going to build a soccer stadium and everything. So I got season tickets to them, paid a lot of money for them, got great seats,
I remember
and
you telling me that.
went in with some guys from work. And then the last season I did it, which was not last year, the season before,
Hmm.
um, I had the whole season myself. And there's a lot of soccer games, sometimes 2 soccer games a week, and I'm like, it's all
Yeah.
the way downtown Orlando. You got to pay to park, you got to pay for food, you got to, you know, have the kids up late. If you take one of the kids to the game, and I'm like, it's just getting to be too much. Plus, we weren't winning. We weren't even. I was like, we're gonna make the playoffs, and it's gonna all be worth it. Never even make the playoffs, and now their ticket guys keep calling me. They're like, and I had amazing seats,
Yeah.
Like in the stadium, soccer stadiums, like you're like right on top of the action. Small stadium, and I had first row of the upper deck, first row of the second level,
Yeah.
which you could see right down there, and they were just amazing seats, but I couldn't do it. But if I lived in Cleveland or anywhere within a couple hour drive, I would have probably done it. At this stage in my life, probably would have done it. But I'll be honest though, as I'm getting older now, just hit 40, the big 4-1.
Yeah.
I will be honest. The in game experience for me isn't what it used to be when I was younger. Drink, just getting hammered, and putting down.
You say that now until you would be out there at the tailgate and you'd be like, yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, and I'd like to sample it. You know what I
There
mean?
you
I like
go.
to
Yeah,
I'd
that's
like to
right.
sample it. Maybe 1 or 2 games a year. And
One
I
of
think
those, like a beer flight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just sample it, just a little taste to see what I like, but not committing
Yeah.
to it, right?
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing about about the power of the credit card. The most powerful card in the game is the credit card. And if you're willing to spend it, somebody's willing to sell it. And just like you, there's some games that you can't make it. I cannot make the game because you've got other responsibilities. So there are people that are looking to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And now it's to a point where I think I was going to go to a game this year. 100% was like, we're going to go.
Yeah, I remember you said you were coming.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm coming to a game. We're going to go. And I was like, I got my dad. I was going to I think it was the Raiders game. I was like, Dad, let's just fly up and go. Like, why not? And I just couldn't get him to do it.
Yeah.
And, and I told my wife, because she wants to go up to a game too. She wants to experience it. And I was like, I got to go with my dad one more time, at least one more time. Because we haven't been to a game since the 90s in Cleveland. And I think it'll be a fun experience. Like, go up for the whole weekend, maybe come. So do you get in like on Friday? What I know we've talked about this before, but just walk me through it one more time.
Now I'm gonna get upset because I didn't get to do it this year. But so we used to drive to a couple of them, but Southwest is so cheap that for an example of how cheap, I had it be when we were still trying to figure out if this COVID thing was going to be a long-term thing or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the schedule came out, we booked every hotel every weekend, and then so we knew that
You had your reservation in.
Yeah,
and do you stay at the same hotel?
We usually go between like the Drury and like the Hilton, and so we would just actually I'm lying. In before the season would even start, we would just book hotels for every weekend in the fall. And then once the schedule came out, then we would go on and we would cancel our reservations to the weekends that we wanted.
And you're a Hilton points guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but as far as the flying goes, and the point that I was gonna is I booked just the one flight in the hopes that it was going to be a thing, and then I would book the other ones. But I booked it the Thursday night against the Bengals, and I got round trip each seat.
Oh, by the way, but not to cut you off, but just to ask
Yeah.
the question, do you also book every Monday and Thursday? Or do you just book the Sundays? Because you don't know what.
So, yes, to answer your question, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do, but more so, ones that we think might be like, oh, this might be the second week, and this might be a Monday night game, that kind of stuff. But not as much as we do the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So round trip for that game, it was $60 so $120 for two of us round trip. You can't beat that. I mean, just the tolls
In gas and tolls, you're
are
gonna
like
get.
$40 in tolls, and then you got the gas. So we just started doing that, and
Could you also do like I'm sure they have some sort of like low ticket club or something like I'm sure they have some sort of program, right? That you could probably
oh
get
yeah,
into.
because I've got I got the card that I get all the miles and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so a typical weekend would be, and man, I totally miss it, but those weekends, every Friday night would be like you were 12 and the next day was Christmas, like trying to fall asleep and you can't. Um, but we would, yeah, drive down the BWI in the mornings. That's probably an hour drive, and as opposed to the 6.5. And yeah, drive down to BWI, hop on the early flight, get to
How
we'd
far a
fly in
drive is it to BWI?
like an hour.
Oh, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Um, yeah, so we'd get in about 10ish. Take a lift over to the hotel
10 in the
and
morning.
10 in the morning, because the flight's only, I mean, you're up and you're down. Like the flight's like an hour.
Hmm.
Um, and then usually our so as soon as we get there, we hang out for a little while, whatnot. Then we'll go hit Winking Lizard is usually on our way, because I always need to go. Our rituals, we always go to the pro shop and hang out in there for a little while. But we'll go catch lunch. We'll go there, um, and then we'll do a whole bunch of cool, like we Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or we'll go day drinking, or we'll go to the Science Center, which was pretty killer the first time I went over there. Yeah, and then we'll go out dinner at night, and then next day get up, tailgate, and then usually we go home on Monday.
Did you bring the kids at all?
No, that was on the docket for this year, and then that didn't work out. But we did
Yeah.
well. I'm lying in the sense that we did take them to training camp last year. But
Okay.
we drove in for that though.
Yeah. I would
Um,
see like I, now that I have three, um, at some point I want to take a full family trip up to a Browns game. I think they have to
yeah,
experience it. They got to
yeah,
go. Because those are games. I mean, I'll never forget the games that I went to. With my family when I was growing up as a kid. I went to several games in Cleveland, and it was like every game. I could go back. I remember specific moments from every game, and just what it was like, and for those teams, and it was just freaking unbelievable. But it's it would be cool. I mean, now because I'm so far away, it's like if I could convince my wife to, hey, let's get season tickets for a year. You know, just I don't even know. I don't think you could
you
do it.
just
You
you
couldn't
just
do it.
asked me. I'll coach you through it. I'll make it happen. Well,
Is there is there a
now there's
way
a
though to like get season tickets from somebody who has them? Or like, can they transfer them to you? Is that possible?
uh, I think so, but no, for a season, yes. But they started cracking down on that too.
Hmm.
But if you said to me, "Hey, Mike, I know you're not going to go to to any of the games this year. I know you have season tickets. Can I just take yours for the year?"
Yeah.
And then I just sell them to you for face value, and then you
Right.
go.
Right.
But as far as like actually
Like actually being the owner of
selling
this.
your rights, no, I do not think so.
Yeah.
The one good thing about uh, about First Energy, and it's always in the back of my mind, worries me that eventually down the road they're going to probably build another stadium, and then who knows if they'll reintroduce PSLs or anything like that. Um, but that's the tough thing. Like if you try and get season tickets out here in Philly, the season tickets could be, and I'm just throwing a number out here, $4,000 a year,
Per
but
season.
that's just for the yeah per season, but that's just for the season. Then you've got like the personal seat license that you got to pay as well. It's and typically you buy the PSL like in the beginning,
Hmm.
But I mean, some of those PSLs, I mean, you're talking like 10 grand, something like that. So some stadiums have it, some didn't. They sort of got away from it. And so like Cleveland doesn't have a, PSL. You pay for the season ticket, and,
Mhm.
and, and
But
that's
you
that's
don't
what it
get,
is.
but you don't get the playoffs for free. You just get the, do you get the right to buy your seats for the
You
playoffs?
you you can opt in. Yeah, so obviously I opted in, but you 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 the prices go up for that. Like I think I was looking at the Steeler prices, and they were, if they would have had people, and they were like, you figure if a typical game, and I'm making this up because I don't even remember what my face value. Let's say my face value is 65. I think like the first round of the playoffs was like 175, and then it tiered up after
Got it.
that. But
Got
but
it.
yeah, there's when you make your last payment, like there's a box you check off. Do you want to be, um, playoff? Do you want playoff seats when it, but you're obligated. So you check that box, you're buying them,
Right.
which is
And,
fine,
but
which
yeah,
is
it's
fine
fine
by
because
me. But
I mean, even if you don't go, you can make money off of those seats big time.
yep,
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend who bought Yankee season tickets. He lived in New Jersey and he used to always buy Yankees. He was a Yankees fan, but he
yeah,
would go to like maybe 10 games a year
yeah,
out of the 81, and sold all of them. And then, and they'd make the playoffs every year, so he
yep,
would sell every playoff game. Maybe go to, if they made the World Series, he might go to one World Series game. But he was like, man, if we make the playoffs, my whole season's paid for, and if we make the World Series, I can pay for the whole next season with
yeah,
those seats. And that's what my plan was with the Orlando City soccer team. If we make the playoffs, I'll just use that money. I'll sell them, use that money to pay for my, whatever. And it just never worked out.
yeah.
But um, but yeah, I think what I'd like to do is at some point when the kids get a little bit older, take a trip up. Like if one of our teams played on like if Virginia Tech played on like Thursday night and the Browns played on Sunday, like
Mhm.
drive up the coast, maybe do like one of those RV things like my dad was talking about,
Yeah,
and do it, and then just go up to the Browns and then drive all the way back down, and take a big 2 week vacation. I don't think I've ever really taken a 2 week vacation in my entire adult career.
I don't think you know what I don't think I've never taken 2 straight weeks off either.
I
Like
knew a
maybe 6 days, 7 at the most, but I've never taken like the full 10.
I knew a girl that I worked with in my last company who took like a month off.
How do you even get back in the swing of things after a
I
month?
she took a well she took a month off to go to China.
Oh my God, a month off, I'm retiring. I'm not coming back.
A month off, you're like, I have no idea because everybody else is just churning. I have a hard time getting back into swing of things after the holidays. Like I struggle. I'm still just now getting out of holiday mode
Yeah.
to get to the new routine, and then I took a day off for my birthday. My
Oh,
company
you
has
took
the
off. You took
unlimited
off
holiday.
today?
Yeah, it was off today.
Oh, very nice.
This morning I was just making that video, and then this afternoon just played some video games, relaxed. Was thinking about going out, getting a haircut, and chilling, and I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. This is just gonna be my one day where I'm just gonna. Usually for my birthday, I don't necessarily take it off, but I do
Yeah.
something that I'm like, I'm just gonna go do something that I want to do. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was like, what at this stage, like, what do I want? Do I want some material item?
Right.
No, not really. I mean, what do I want? I don't want a new car. There's some things I could do to my computer with the newer stuff, but they're all astronomically overpriced right now because everybody's scalping them. So I don't want to overpay for something because I won't feel good about it.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want to. I just want to do something for me. And then I dropped the kids off at school, and um, I was thinking about the Avengers, and
Yeah.
I was like, I have a list of hype video things that I've saved on YouTube. Or like I want to
Mhm.
make eventually I'm going to make a hype video out of that. And this one was only about a minute long, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can bang out a minute long hype video in a morning.
And banged it out. You did, because it was excellent.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
I liked it. It did what it had to do.
Yeah, yeah. It was from the first Avengers, um, the first Avengers Super Bowl commercial teaser trailer when that came, when the original Avengers movie came out. That was what that was from. Um, yeah, I still every once in a while will go back and watch some of the other hype videos that I made. Leading up to this Pittsburgh game, this playoff game, I went back and watched a lot of them, and I was like, man, there's some of them that are so good, and they're just not, they're just buried now. I almost just wanted to publish them to be like, here's more, and I might do that for the rest of the week. But I have another video that I'm working with that guy Bear Kincaid, that he's commissioned me
I
to
gotta
make.
tell you, I get fired up when we're listening to that song before we go on.
Yeah,
That song is really grown on me.
I mean, honestly, he's got a lot of songs that are really, really good.
Yeah.
They're just catchy. He's got one about the Dukes of Hazzard.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. I'm like, I mean, I used to watch the shit out of the Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid. As just ridiculous. And I know people think of the Dukes of Hazzard now as like a racist show because of the General Lee.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if you actually watch it, it was basically just like a white trash show. It had nothing to do with race. I get the Confederate flag, but back then it wasn't looked at as like this symbol of hate that it is now.
Right.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, so like I always looked at like people who had the Confederate flag as just fucking morons, because I'm like, you grow up in Pennsylvania, which is like the birthplace of liberty, right? You've got Philadelphia and
Right around the corner.
Gettysburg. It's so Americana, right? And you grow up learning about the history of the Civil War and the Declaration of Independence and all the great stuff that Benjamin Franklin did. You go to Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell,
Hall.
the Benjamin Franklin statue on top of the building. I mean, it's just so American. It was so, Rocky Balboa. It was just so, there's so much about Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. So I see these fucking morons, because I went to college in Virginia. I see these idiots walking around with this Confederate flag. I'm like, you guys realize like we beat those guys. Like that, those aren't that's not a flag. Although it is it's an interesting flag. It's not the worst design in the world, but it just stands for losers. Like, but anyway, going back to the Dukes of Hazzard.
And now you have to go back to the Dukes of Hazzard.
Now we got to circling back to the Dukes of Hazzard.
I don't even know how we got to the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm excied to see where we're going.
It's Bear Kincaid's song.
It's Bear.
Dukes of Hazzard.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
So on Spotify, I usually when I'm dicking around the weekends or like playing video games, something like that, I'll put on his stuff because it's catchy and it's like upbeat country and it's songs that you don't take too seriously, but like okay.
When you first played me that song, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to it and I'm like, oh man, this is pretty good. And then I'll be honest, I cut from the hip straight truth.
Mm-hmm.
The woof woof part, I was kind of like, that's kind of cheesy. And then after like the 7th or 8th time that I was listening to it, I was freaking barking around the house. And then the rest is history. I love the tune.
It's I felt the same way when I first heard it. I was like, this is kind of like a meh type.
Yeah.
I was like, here we go, brownies, here we go, woof woof, and I was like, because it could have been they could have just left that out, and everybody would have just sung it.
Right.
It almost would have been like its own thing. Like,
right.
And but the new one that we're gonna do is the Feeling Dangerous, and I talked to him about it. I was like, man, I've listened to a lot of your stuff. You're a really talented guy,
right?
Singer, songwriter, musician type thing, and he was saying, he's like, yeah, I work with really good studio musicians in Nashville.
Right.
So he must just commission, buy really good studio time.
Is that where he is? Is that where he's home based down there?
No, I think he's in Ohio.
And then he goes down.
But
Okay,
I think
that's
I think
interesting.
he records in Nashville, with some
Interesting.
studio musicians down there, which, I was in a band in high school. We were just a, alternative rock cover band in high school, and you know, some of the guys in the band were actually really good musicians. I wasn't a very good musician at the time. They were basically like, "Hey, we want to start a band, and we've been playing guitar for like 4 or 5 years, and we have a guy who can play the drums. He just started playing the drums on his own a couple of years ago, but he's really good, and we need a bass player." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know anything about guitar. I don't know anything about bass, but I'll get lessons from this lady, and
Right.
I'll get a bass, and we'll figure it out." And luckily, for the vast majority of alternative rock music in the
Right.
90s,
Hit the E
wasn't
string.
wasn't all that complicated. But I did eventually pick it up, and I played bass for probably, pretty. I would say like 3 years. I just focused on bass, and I went from complete novice to like respectably okay.
Right.
And then when I was 16, I was like, well, I want to. I just get me an acoustic guitar for Christmas. So when I was 16, I might have been 15, but I was about to turn 16 because January 13th, turned 16. And my parents, when I was 15, got me an acoustic guitar, and it was like this piece of shit. I still have it. It was a Honer
Yeah.
with nickel strings. I mean, it was like the cheapest thing ever. And the action was like that high, and I learned how to play. The internet was just kind of coming around. This is like 1995, 1996. So they had, you could look up chords, you could look up tabs on how to play songs. And I just started doing that. And then I just fell in love with that. And I was like, I just taught myself how to play guitar,
Yeah.
and played for a while, and then had a couple different guitars. Then finally, I had my own company in 2009 to 2012. And it was a digital marketing affiliate market. That's where I learned how to do all this crap that we're doing now. But it was an affiliate marketing company where basically I got paid from Google and Amazon to send traffic to their stuff, and it made not a lot of money, it just made decent money. And at the end of it, when we were shutting down the company because we were both having kids and stuff, and we needed health insurance, me and my business partner, I had a little bit of money left. I think I had like $1,600 left in the account, and it was just mine because he was gone. He had left the company, and I was like, I'm gonna go and buy a guitar. This is gonna be the last thing. It's the only physical thing I'm gonna, because we took trips, we did a whole bunch of cool stuff. This is a physical thing that I'm gonna do. And I went out and I got an American-made Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, Pennsylvania-made Martin acoustic guitar, and I think it was like retail was like, it was like the lowest American one you could get. It was like 1,600 retail, like MSRP.
One step away from being made in Mexico.
One step. It was
One
literally,
step.
and they were actually even trying to convince me. They're like, there's really not a big difference between like the Mexican and the American. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm from Pennsylvania. Like it's a thing. It's like, it's almost like Labatt, or like to a Canadian, or like Rolling Rock is to, and Yingling is to Pennsylvanians. It's like it's part of your culture.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want a Taylor. I don't want, a Gibson or a Guild or a whatever. I want a Martin guitar. That was the thing I wanted forever. And I still have it. It's in my wife's office. I break it out every once in a while when I want to dick around.
Nice.
But in terms of from your professional musician background, you give Bear Kincaid the thumbs up.
Yeah, I dig his stuff. Very very good, very professional. You could definitely tell that he's got some players behind him.
Yeah. He's got, and so my father-in-law is also a semi-professional bass player. And he's played his entire life. He's a very good bass player. I mean, he's mostly in like Christian rock type bands.
Yeah.
And he's got some stuff out there that I help him find that was out on YouTube. He's like, I can't believe you found this. This is like a song that I don't even think it charted, but it was like a Christian rock song.
Yeah.
In that like was like got some maybe local airplay in like Edmonton. Like,
That's great. Hey,
and he was like, I
anywhere you
can't
get
believe you
airplays
found
good.
it. And I played it for him. I'm like, what do you think of this guy? I was like, this guy's, I'm making some videos for him, and he's commissioned me to help him make some music videos for stuff, and obviously with my influence within the Browns
Yeah.
community, like I can help him get some eyeballs on it. And we sat down, we listened to some of his stuff. He's like, I his name sounds so familiar. It's like I want to say that I've heard of the guy, but he must have been thinking about somebody else. But
So, talk about Bear.
yeah,
You know why? Well, the first thing that I thought when you said his name was I was thinking of a Thomas Kincaid painting. So maybe that's why the name was familiar.
yeah, he's got like a common buddy name in Bear, and
And
then
what?
Kincaid is like a somewhat familiar sounding name, right?
Yeah.
It's a good name.
Who? Yeah. Well, we'll talk offline about it. I'm curious as to what he's up to now. If that's like if music's his gig or he does it on the side or whatnot.
I don't, to be honest, I don't know what I don't think he's not his full-time job, because I told him, I was like, hey man, he's like, I think this is really good stuff. Like, what's the what's the future like for you? And he was like, no, I'm just it's my hobby. It's my hobby. And I think he likes doing it. He's a diehard Browns fan. He loves the Browns. Just like, I mean, and that's kind of the amazing thing I think about this whole Browns community that's out there. It's like the online Browns fans, right?
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing about it. Like, if you look at Twitter, the Browns have hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter.
Mhm.
And then and we run in a lot of the same circles on Twitter, right?
Yep.
We know a lot of the same guys. But Twitter is one pocket of Browns fans. Then you've got the Instagram Browns fans.
Yep.
And you have the Facebook Browns fans. And then you've got the other YouTuber Browns fans.
You know what? You
got TikTok coming.
You got TikTok, and then the one that I was surprised about that I got invited to, and it's just so ironic, and you'll know exactly why when I say it, but I got an invite to be on a Browns server on Discord.
On Discord, yeah.
Which I didn't know what Discord was until I was in the league with you.
I set up a Browns Discord server.
Yeah.
And I just haven't pushed it. And I was like, because there's room. There's room for other communities out there, and I think at some point we're gonna start pushing some of that too, because then it's easy. You can talk to other Browns fans. You can post memes and stuff. It's a little bit more permanent.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll join in.
Yeah.
So, what probably about that time to put our predictions in.
Oh. Man, I mean, I don't know. Did anybody have? Nobody even came close on the Browns. Like when I asked in chat last time for the jersey.
You and I had.
Mike, are you on Parler yet? I don't think Parler exists anymore, man. Ryan, I think Parler's gone. No, I did not have a Parler account.
I had 24-21, and you had 24-22.
Yeah, we were off.
I'm ready. I'm ready for my. I got it written down. It is set in stone over here.
All right.
It's actually
my score.
pencil, but...
My score is gonna be.
Yep, lay it on me.
All right, hold on a second. I want to go back to see like what the Chiefs have been scoring.
I am locked in over here, right down to how we win.
Okay, I love it. I love it. All right, we got Brownies, Chiefs. Chiefs are going to score at least 30.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Chiefs 38.
Yep.
Browns 41.
Wow.
And I'm just doing that because I never even come close to getting these things right.
Yep.
I cannot predict a score for anything. I used to be able to bet on games, and I at least knew who's going to win or lose. The scores I always kind of got me, but win or lose I could pick them. But now I can't. I just can't do it anymore. I lost the touch.
So here we go. I got that field goal feeling again.
Okay.
And we didn't, and it wasn't by a field goal, but
too high. Too high.
I'm gonna go. What's too high? 4? Oh, 44.
So Mick the dog says too high, and I was quoting a line from Major League. It's too high.
Too high. What do you mean too high?
What do you mean? No, it's too high.
You know what the sad thing is? That movie was filmed in Baltimore.
Was it really?
Yeah, the old Memorial Stadium.
I remember I was at a Marlins game with I was on a Marlins Met game with John Schlegel, who is one of the sponsors of the channel, and we got just, I mean, we used to go to the Marlins games and just get annihilated. A beer an inning, and it was just, I mean, it was my 20s, and we would just get ripped, right? And I remember, I don't know who it was. It might have been Hanley Ramirez or somebody like that early on, like young Hanley, and I mean, just hit a booming home run. It might have been Mike Stanton, now Giancarlo. It just hit a monster home run, and I mean, you could feel the impact of the bat. Like you heard the crack and you felt it. And I just saw that, and John was like, "Oh God!" And I go, "No, too high, it's too high." Everybody around started laughing. Everybody got the reference.
That's awesome. So it's a team of destiny. So right out of the gate, you know who I'm picking to win, and I am going to go 37-34.
And we win in
overtime. Baker drives them down late. When I say late, like one timeout and a minute 15.
We get the ball back, tie game.
Yep. And he drives them down.
Where do we kick? Where do we start off on the 25? Where are we starting to drive on? Does DeErnest bring it back to the 40?
No, DeErnest, we got to earn it. No pun intended. DeErnest brings us back to like 28, 29. Nothing groundbreaking.
Okay. But he does return it. And Baker gets them down.
I could feel it. They clock it a bunch.
Feeling it. I'm losing my mind at this point. I'm just sitting. I'm on the edge of my seat. I might be standing up because at the end of these games, I oftentimes stand, and
they're driving. Hits Richard at the boundary. Steps out of bounds. They're saving that timeout. Hits Hooper a couple times. And the big.
So what are we at the 50-yard line now?
Yep. And the big catch. No timeouts. Jarvis catches it. They run to the line. They spike the ball.
On what yard line?
Well, you figure, what is it? What's the end zone? 10. The snap is 7, right?
Yep.
And I'm calling for a last second 42-yard Parkey field goal.
Oh, so
and it's not splitting the uprights, guys.
Fading.
It's a squeaker, but it don't matter.
He makes it.
I
think I would probably call off on Monday. I'd probably call off.
Aren't you off?
No, I'm not. Unless it's a holiday, I'm not off on Monday.
Monday's MLK.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. My company is very progressive, so we just may.
Ryan Burlow, you like that whole. I hope you guys wrote that down.
I have it on the calendar, but it doesn't say it's a day off. But I would assume, knowing I work for a very progressive New York City company.
I hear you.
I could assume we may have off on Monday. You're right.
Yeah. So I mean, I got to tell you, I had one beer the other day. It was funny because when we were doing the post game, someone in the chat was like, "Oh,
Can't even
Astana
be
was
clean
messed
for
up
you.
or whatever." I had one beer. I've been it's post holiday. I drank a case of Great Lakes Christmas ale over that span of time, and it was time to mellow out here. But after we win that game, it's safe to say that we will be drinking on the post game show.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Because it won't be like midnight, it
Nope.
won't be like, well, we're dying. And yeah, we will absolutely. I've got some tequilas, I've got some cider or some seltzers. When
Nice.
you're 41, you need the hydration along with the
Yeah,
alcohol
well,
in the same drink.
add some years to that, and you'll not only will you have to add some hydration to that, but you'll be working out and trying to figure out why all of a sudden like your knee clicks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're sitting there. We'll be drinking. We'll be rubbing some Ben Gay on us.
Oh yeah. What's the Flexol 45? Is that what Joe Willie? Right?
Yeah.
Flexol 45.
Flexol. Yeah, you gotta have. We'll be wearing the copper bracelets.
Roaming around smelling like a peppermint stick.
I don't think
Dad,
my wife
you got
will
a
let
candy
me.
cane? No, it's Flexol.
I don't think my wife will let me smoke a cigar in the house.
Yeah.
But that would be fun too. It's just like smoking lighting up a cigar, having a like a bourbon, like a neat bourbon, and
one of these.
That's right.
Except this will say Victory Sunday.
I don't think I'm emotionally prepared for a victory of this magnitude.
I get what you're saying, because I think that it would go one or two ways. And it would either be you'd be a raving lunatic running all over the house, or it's one of those like you're just sitting there staring at the TVs like, yeah, we one more. And could you imagine
AFC Championship game?
And
no.
I'm the type of person that when the playoffs start, and I mean, we've never been relevant, so it was always even more important for me. But for me, when it comes to the playoffs rather, my first concern, if you will, is I need the Steelers and the Ravens, if they're both in the playoffs or one of them, whoever's in it, I need them out as quick as possible, because otherwise I can't enjoy it, because I start getting nauseous at the thought of having to see one of them hoist up the Lombardi trophy. With that being said, could you imagine, talk about exercising the demons, beating the Steelers to get in, beating the Steelers in their place to advance to the next round, beating the Chiefs, and then going to Baltimore and beating them at home, going to the Super Bowl, and then winning the Super Bowl. Every
all right, so
you would exercise every demon, right? Every demon.
So let's play this out, because this is what I've been talking about with the movie, right? The movie of this season.
Oh, I got you.
Right, because it's got you got the everything you just mentioned, the Chiefs in Kansas City, Super Bowl Chiefs, right? Nobody thinks we can beat them.
Nope.
Then we go to Baltimore, new arch rival, because at this point we have overcome the Steelers. I really think that we have, the Steelers have fallen down a notch, and we are now competing for the top spot in the AFC North. And regular season is one thing, but in the playoffs, if you beat a team in your division in the playoffs, you are now a peg ahead. I don't care where you finish the season; it doesn't matter, right? Winning the division it's not the goal. Winning in the playoffs is, right? So we end up in the movie. Now we take the flight to, I don't even know if you could do this movie in one movie. This might be a 3-parter, like Lord of the Rings.
Oh my God. I'm into it.
And you
Go
know
on.
what? It might not even be a movie. It might be like one of these I think we talked about this like the Last Dance, like
Yep.
sports events on television, right? You're telling this whole story, right? So you're telling the story of the playoffs, how we get in, all the stuff in the season, COVID, blah blah blah. First of all, you're starting off by telling the history of the Browns. You're
Yep.
starting off like that, okay? With Otto Graham, Jim Brown, Brian Sipe, Bernie Kosar. Then you
That
get
song
Art
playing in the
Modell.
background.
It's we're the Cleveland Browns and it's first and 10. Like they will have that
Oh,
song's got to
Ohio,
come.
Ohio for Cleveland.
Yeah. But then you got the team leaving. Then you got 99 with Tim Couch. Then you got flashes of things that have happened. So you'll have us losing to the Steelers. You'll have the Dwayne Rudd helmet game. You'll have the 10-6 season where we didn't make the playoffs. You're having us fall off the cliff again. You'll have all the quarterbacks, all the coaches. You'll have 1-15. You'll have 0-16. Then you'll have Baker Mayfield coming, Myles Garrett coming, and then stop. Right? Maybe Nick Chubb, throw that in there as well. Jarvis Landry,
Yep.
right? They'll be part of the narrative. It won't be a flash. You'll have to tell that story about how the culture changed. Then the movie begins, right?
Yes.
This is all happens during the opening credits, by the way. This is the timeline that happens to the opening credits. There was a great movie with Jamie Foxx about the Middle East. I can't remember what it's called, but it was like something happened, and they told the story of like America in the Middle East with a timeline, and I would tell it just like that.
Yeah.
Then you get the playoffs. You get us losing to the Jets because of COVID, where we thought that was the clinch. Then you get the Steelers with their backup players that we had to win. Then you get beating the Steelers in the second week, 2 weeks in a row. So now in the playoffs, that's different. That's a different way you're going to tell the story. You're going to start off with like Pittsburgh,
Yep.
super wild card round.
On a wild night.
Boom. Then you got the Steelers. You got what happens there. Then you get Kansas City, divisional round, and you got Kansas City, and you got that game, right? Where we win it just like you described.
Yeah.
Baker drives us down. We kick the field goal at the end. There's some drama leading up to it, right? They show a couple clips of the Wednesday show, right?
Yeah, you have to.
They got a couple clips of the Wednesday show. Maybe throw in some Zagura. Quincy's in there. They'll have some rant from Sir Yacht.
Yeah.
Right?
Paul Brown's got to be in there. We got to throw him in there.
Paul Brown UK is in there popping up, champagne bottles and drinking.
You see those, not to interrupt your movie story, but did you see those fireworks he was shooting off? I mean, those were like missiles.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I don't know how that's legal, but I don't know the laws in those countries, right? So okay, so then we go, and then after that, we've got Baltimore. We go to Baltimore. We beat Baltimore in Baltimore, and then we go to the Super Bowl in Tampa. And you know who we face in the Super Bowl in Tampa?
I'm terrific.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers this might be the first time ever that a home team plays in their home gosh darn stadium.
Yeah.
Because we go to Pittsburgh, we go to Kansas City, we go to Baltimore, and then we come down here to go to the Super Bowl. It's supposed to be a neutral site, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by some people consider to be the greatest, I could say maybe the greatest modern era quarterback in terms of winning. Statistically, I don't think he's the most statistically, but in terms of winning and rings, I still in my heart of hearts, Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. As I saw him play. Tom Brady, I've seen him play enough. I think he's very, very good, but I put Montana ahead. That's just me. Everybody has their opinion. I could be wrong. But we go to Tampa and we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home against Tom freaking Brady. And we win the Super Bowl.
And that would mean by like 11 something, soon as that commercial pops up, hey, get your Super Bowl gear right here. I'll be like all on it. Everything. Down to the underwear.
Everything.
Everything.
The commemorative coin.
I mean, let's be honest here. I almost bought the commemorative coin from last week's game. Like I had to talk myself out of it.
I mean, that's why this is a commemorative T-shirt. This was a T-shirt that's like we qualified for the playoffs this day.
I know.
You know,
my hat will be here tomorrow. I you know
playoffs
what? I complained about
hat?
the Velcro, and I did it anyway. I had to buy the hat. I needed it.
You know what? I really don't hate Velcro.
I had to do it. I'm like, I gotta. I mean, after all these years, the elf's on the hat.
There's the elf. The elf is on this one too, by the way, which is cool. On the back of this one is the elf.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which I like. Which is it's a nice touch. Starting to buy more elf stuff. I'm getting into the elf. You know, the original elf.
I love the elf. But look at this is one of my new Mitchell and Ness shirts.
Oh, that's
cool.
nice. That's very nice. Yeah. That's very nice. I like that a lot.
I got to tell you, it was still in the bag. I bought it in the summer. I broke this out
for
just
the Wednesday?
for
the birthday Wednesday show.
For the birthday Wednesday
I
show.
Appreciate it. Well, this is like, I mean, honestly, we got to look on a calendar next year because if we have birthday Wednesday shows again.
Oh, forget it. You know, I got to look now.
That's wild. You know what? The other thing too is I started going on you know, looking for stuff. It's not just for me. I'm looking for stuff for my wife, and I'm sitting there, we're watching a TV show, and I'm like, God, I freaking hate shopping for women's clothes. She's like, why? And I'm like, because anytime I find something nice that I like, that I think you'd like, it's either small or 2XL. They're the only sizes it has.
Yeah, you know what? You have to. I'm a lunatic when it comes to this stuff. Like some people on their home screen app, you know, or you know, their home screen, the apps on their home screen, I should say, you know, have, you know, their home alarm on there, or, you know, their car to start it or whatnot. And I have a couple of those things on there, but I literally have the Cleveland Browns shop on my homepage, and every night before I go to bed, and every day when I wake up, and throughout the day, I'm always hitting that thing to see what the new arrivals are. If you saw, and at first Laura would be like, "Oh my God, like everything I own is like Browns. How many Browns?" And now she loves it. Like he's got so much Browns gear.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I don't know if you've gotten into this. I bought my wife some of the Aaron Andrews collection stuff.
Yep, she has a bunch of that. Yep,
it's great. She's like, hey, I mean, even if it wasn't Browns, this is like really high quality stuff. It's not cheaply made. So she loves it. Okay, guys. We've done our stuff. We've told the story. We've painted the picture of the movie that will eventually be made. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to secure the directorial rights, but I would definitely be open for it. Maybe I could write the screenplay. But you know, it'd be interesting. Do you think it would be, if it was a 30 for 30, if it was like one of those that was just like the Jordan one, you'd have to actually show the stuff about, you know, Jordan and everything like that, which I think would work in this story. But if it was a movie, then it could be actors. You could just have actors playing the parts of the players, which would be fun. Either way, I'd have fun watching it, as long as they did it right. They'd probably have us play the Jets the second game of the season or something stupid like that, where the Charlie was like, nah, I think we need to have that game a little bit earlier. Like, they'll just do something dumb. But yeah, if it was like a Last Dance type thing, whoever made that, Netflix or whatever, whoever made that one would be great. But we got to win it.
Yeah. 3
more games, guys, and history will be made. We had 700. We had 735 people in chat after that game.
Yeah, it was wild.
Now, everybody who's in chat right now, I know every single one of you guys. Currently, for those guys who've hung in here, I know every single one of you guys by name.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because it was, I look at it and, I was talking to my dad. My dad's like, there's 500 people. And then he's like, there's 700 people in here.
Yeah, it was like,
he couldn't believe
700 at one point, wasn't there?
There's 700. We peaked out at 734.
Yeah,
which
crazy.
For us is huge. For most people, most actual streamers, it would be like bad. like really bad. But for us, I mean, it was a new record for
It
the
was,
channel. But
yeah, it
again, we
was
started this
really well.
last year. This was started last year, this channel. And to have that kind of success, I consider that a new
Yeah.
plateau for success. I think the next where I'm gonna really get excited when we get to 1,000. And if
Yeah.
we beat the Chiefs,
Oh,
1,000 are coming.
it goes well over 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 are coming if we beat the Chiefs.
See you, Mick.
Yep. See you, Mick. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
We should probably wrap up here, man. We've been at it for 3 hours. This is a typical 3-hour Wednesday for us.
3-hour Wednesday.
We're going later and later and later. My wife has been asleep for an hour. I'm sure your wife is asleep.
I know she's out there staring. I hear her.
She's stirring. Okay.
Probably staring at the PlayStation 5.
You know, my wife was like, "What do you want to do for your birthday? You want to go out for dinner? You want to do whatnot?" I was like, "You know what? I've got the Wednesday show. You know, I've got a commitment there." She's like, "Well, what about this weekend? What about Friday?" I was like, "Why don't we do this? Why don't we go out to dinner? Well, my mother-in-law, your mom will stay here. We'll stay with the kids.
Yeah.
Just you and me. We'll go out to dinner. We'll get a hotel room. You know, away from the kids and everything like that.
Yeah.
Maybe get some wine. Do whatever.
Yeah.
Go to a hotel. Hang out in the hotel for a little while. Fire up the Wednesday show and watch it." She goes, "That's the last thing I would want to do."
Yeah, I don't blame her.
And straight faced, that's the last thing in the world I want to do is watch the Wednesday show with you in a hotel room with a bottle of wine.
With a bottle of wine.
She's like, I would never want to do that. And I was like, hey, to each their own. But for me, and I'm sure you guys in chat would agree, so that would be a pretty spectacular night.
It would be. It's not. I mean, there's no place better as far as I'm concerned than Wednesday night.
If you're not here, talking about the Browns and other, which and wheres that we talk about throughout the course of the show, my dad was like, I listened to your Wednesday show last time, and you guys only really talked about the Browns for about 30 minutes.
I know we did.
He's like, we have a big game coming up, and you guys really only talked about the Browns for about 30 minutes. And
I was thinking of that myself afterwards. I'm like, man, I feel like we neglected the Browns tonight. It was a good show.
Did we really not talk about the Browns that much last week? I was I feel like we'll skip around.
Yeah, no, we were on a total tangent. We just went off the rails, but it was good off the rails. We think about it, and I know we got to get out of here, but I'll keep it quick. But I mean, we covered the history of video games.
Oh yeah, we can talk about Tecmo Bowl and stuff.
We talked about but you know what? I thought it was enjoyable, and everybody thought it was enjoyable because they're here again tonight, and we appreciate that. And I mean, isn't that the beauty though? I mean, you don't tune into sports talk and they don't talk about other things as well.
Yeah,
maybe that's what even makes us special.
So for me, when I was really into listening to podcasts, several years ago, if I got into a topic, like let's say there's the Browns or Virginia Tech football or something like that, it used to piss me off so bad when I'm like, I'm new to your show. I don't know who the hell you guys are. You're a bunch of amateur bozos anyway. And you're going to sit there for like the first 10, 15 minutes and bullshit with each other about like what you did on the weekends or like whatever. I don't give a crap what you did. I don't care. I don't know you guys. I'm not like in your community yet. I don't know who you are or what you do. I don't care about that. I'm dialing you guys up because you're talking about the topic that I want to listen to somebody talk about because I don't have somebody physically there that I can talk about it with. And that's one of those things that drove me nuts. And there's a lot of these podcasts that do that. But I don't mind if for the first 30 minutes or an hour, you're talking about the thing that I want you to talk about.
Absolutely. And then you know what?
Trail off from there because half the people aren't going to watch it that long anyway.
Yeah. And no one will ever question our talking about the Browns I mean, look at this, for example. I mean, I have a Wednesday topic show board.
Yeah. You're like Karl Rove.
Yeah, and we touched the top two.
Yeah, I usually have a rundown of like the topics of that I want to talk to if I need to like remember them. But there's so much about the Chiefs and the Steelers. I'm like everything that we're going to be doing is just off the top of the head.
Yeah,
it's funny though. I watch like a lot of McAfee, on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
and I find his show kind of refreshing, and like I like the format of his show, and but essentially it's just a bunch of like, bros, guys who would just be in B-dubs,
Yeah.
drinking draft beers and eating wings and sitting around talking. There's just guys who talk about sports, or the sports guys with McAfee, and I look at that and I'm like, I used to always think that it's some sort of mystery to have to like talk about sports. It really isn't. You get a microphone. Everybody who's in chat here, you guys are all passionate people. I get people that are that message me all the time. That guy, one of the guys that we had on the show a couple weeks ago for the Giants game, they were like, "Hey, we want to start doing the show just like you guys do." I'm like, "Yeah, get OBS, go on YouTube and learn a couple tutorials on how to set it up, and you're good to go."
Yeah.
It's not that hard to do, guys. It takes a little bit of tweaking. You see me messing with it all the time, the overlays and stuff like that. Some of that's a little bit tedious, but you get it. It's easy. But anyway, guys, I digress. It's now we're deep, not
You're
deep.
deep.
We're starting to get into the 3 hour, the 3 hour block.
Like a 3-hour tour.
3 hour tour.
Sit right back and enjoy your tale.
Tale of the Faithful Browns. But yeah, guys, I want to say again, thank you guys for riding with us all night, and also
Absolutely.
for being with us for the pre and post game show. We're going to be live on the pregame show 2 hours before the game, so figure sometime around, the game starts at 3:00, right? Is it 3:05?
Yeah.
So we'll probably be live around 1:00. Let's figure, Mike. Figure around 1:00, and then right after the game, like always, we'll do it. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys for the birthday wishes, Ryan. All you guys out there, appreciate you.
Happy birthday to you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Big day.
Yes, one day, circle the sun one more time. So guys, appreciate you, and we will be back on Sunday, the pregame show. Go Browns.
Go Browns.